Good evening, you eager motherfuckers, and how are you all doing? I'm Richard Lewis. This is another episode of Trash Talk, and my god, have we got lots to talk about this week. First, though, I just want to say a big thanks to all of the regulars that have been coming on my stream the last few days. I have been fucking ill, guys. Like, I have never been this ill. Like, not since childhoods when, I got like measles, mumps, and rubella all at once, back in the 1800s. It's been insane. I've had like flu for 3 weeks. And you guys have been coming on the stream, and I know I've been disappointing you because I like stream for 2 hours and then I just black out. So sorry about that. I'll try and make it up to you somehow. With me tonight, as always, is my producer Sam. He's also getting over a cold, but he's younger, so it's less likely to kill him. How are you doing?
Alright, I'm good.
And as if that wasn't all enough to contend with as well, we had the finale of my beloved Boardwalk Empire. It's over. And I'm really sad about it, but especially because the last series was kind of shit. So just want to give a toast to all of the Domedy crew. I still miss you, Jimmy. To the lost. Okay, so trash talk tonight. What are we going to be talking about? Well, in League of Legends, we've had all sorts kicking off. Shipta has re-signed with Team Dignitas. Maybe a surprise for some, maybe not. I don't know. You can call in and tell me about that. One of the big stories that I was proud to break was Impaler and Jezis going to Coast. I mean, from fucking nowhere as well. And Lod is out after a relatively short time, having only recently signed with the organization. Santorin all but confirmed to TSM now. But how do you think Impaler and Jezis are going to do? Maybe you want to call in and talk about that. I also broke the Koreans going to Millennium. Horo and Ryu. How do you think they're going to fit into the new look Millennium team? We see that Reckless is still looking for a way out of Fnatic, and this week I broke the story about him having a $15,000 buyout fee, which many of you guys have concluded is quite cheap. Shows how far League of Legends has come. But he still really wants to go to Alliance. Is that going to be facilitated by the fact that Tabs has left now? He hasn't had his contract signed and actually took to Ask.fm to turn on his former teammates, where he said lots of not too nice things about them apart from Froggen. In other games, Starcraft, Robert Ohlen is relieved of his duties as Dreamhack CEO. I'm especially saddened about this. I got a long-standing relationship with Robert. We go way back many years, very good friends. I've been on the phone with him since it happened. He's, as you can imagine, really despondent. We just concluded an interview today that is going to be published very soon, possibly tomorrow. My editor got called away on urgent business and wasn't able to finish it, but rest assured you'll be able to read more about that. But what do you think it means for Dreamhack? Anyone who knows the boss DH knows he was a very enigmatic and charismatic guy and a visionary in a lot of ways. Will Dreamhack suffer in his absence? The player lineup has been, almost all but confirmed for Home Story Cup 10. And on that subject, Take TV's Pimp the House project's only got 50 days left, and it's currently only at $12,000 from $100,000 for the goal. Perhaps you want to call in and talk about why that might be the case. Global Offensive, we had Face It, the finals there. Fnatic beat iBuyPower. There's a new gun coming to CSGO, a new patch reveals called the TAC-21, and we're going to see a resurrection of the classic VIP game mode. If you're an old school gamer like me, you'll remember that with fondness. Cajun B has returned to Dignitas again. When will these Danes stop it? And the big news, the news that affects me personally and by proxy all of you. No more naked streaming. That's it, guys. You can no longer see me sit here and lick my hairy moobs while I dance for pennies like it's live Jasmine. So we're really sad about that, and hopefully someone's going to call up and talk. But Sam, our first caller, we liked him so much we brought him back.
Yeah, Shia, and he wants to talk about a PhD in Esports Professionalism, Toxicity, Sportsmanship, and Doublespeak. Sounds like the title of an editorial.
Yeah, it does actually. It sounds like a title of an editorial I would have wrote. So yeah, this is Ji Howell. You may remember him from, we had a lengthy talk about Koreans last week, I believe, which was very exciting. So can you hear me, Jia?
Hello, how you doing? I'm all right.
Hey, it's good to have you back. Welcome back to the show. How are you?
Yeah, the glorious return.
Indeed. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. So wanted to talk about my topics. Have you introduced my topic, or shall I read out this title?
No, go and read out the title because it actually sounds like you've written an article or something here.
Well, you are my idol and all that.
Well, I get that a lot. So,
Right, my title was PTSD in Esports, and PTSD
yeah.
stands for Professionalism, Toxicity, Sportsmanship, and Doublespeak.
Oh, it's very clever. It's what they called an acrostic.
Yeah. Right, so
They are called that.
Yeah.
Take my word for it.
So, what I'm talking about obviously most of them make sense immediately, but what I'm talking about when I mean doublespeak is there's a very particular term there's a very particular sentence, in 1984 where they say that you can brainwash people to effectively hold in their brains two ideas or two judgments and viewpoints that are completely opposite to each other and cannot interact, but the person completely refuses to accept that they don't work together.
Yeah.
And believes them both fervently with all this power. And that's something that we see, I think, that has been happening in an esports fan's head, because you have this weird psycho realm where everyone claims to hate the sort of like faceless, boring, sort of bland vanilla interview of just like, oh yeah, we sports pretty hard and the other team sports quite hard too, and we sports as hard as we could and then we lost, and next time we'll try and sports a bit harder, and or like pre-match interview of like, your typical Korean of, I think it will be a very close match and we will both try hard to win. And so everyone claims to fervently hate that, but Jesus Christ, you look at how hard people jump on anyone that try to bring a bit of flavour to the arrangement. How can you say that you hate that shit when anyone who goes against that mold is just met with massive community backlash?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, we've seen this numerous times. What you're talking about, I believe, is called cognitive dissonance, which is where you can hold contradictory ideas at once because you're fucking mental, I presume. But we've seen this with, I mean, prime example, okay, people in League of Legends. Every time there's somebody kind of comes in and tries to be a little bit more, a little bit radical, a little bit outside of the box, doing a prime example, adding a bit of friendly. I mean, it was kind of a bad idea for him to do it because he wasn't very good, and I've raised that point several times. But, as soon as somebody tried to have a bit of personality, a bit of character that wasn't double lift, that wasn't one of the old school gamers, that was it. Anyone who's kind of new school that comes into League of Legends, you just can't have any of that personality. It's been the same in Starcraft for a long time. We have this very strange relationship with our Starcraft players. So, Naniwa, we fucking hate him, obviously, because, how dare he say the tournaments are shit, and how dare he walk out the tournaments, and how dare he do a pro brush. And then when he finally retires, we spend the entire time begging him to come back because we realize what a phenomenal talent he was. And actually, StarCraft's a little bit boring. Stefano, the same. Idra, the same.
I mean, Idra sometimes went a bit too far. By all means, I want a character. But I mean, if you're telling someone that they're retarded and you hope that they get raped and die of AIDS, maybe we don't want that. But yeah, like there were a lot of times where Idra didn't cross that line and he still got a blasting.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I mean. You wouldn't need to say, I hope you get raped and die of AIDS in esports to really be a controversial figure. What I found is all you really need to do is trash talk an opponent a little bit, and you're ostracized by a large bulk of the community. And I've never understood that, because if you were to apply that logic to mainstream sports, look, don't get me wrong, I'm all for a handshake at the end of the games, but what do people think is really going on during a match? In rugby, you gouge each other's fucking eyes out, bite ears, scratch, then you go down a tunnel and shake each other's hands. In boxing, which I've also engaged in, you're trash talking the entire time you're in the clutch. You're saying in the ring, you're shit, I'm going to break your ribs, motherfucker. You trash talk. NFL, every time there's a big hit put in, someone towers over the hapless victim. Maybe he's got a broken neck. No one can be sure. But in that moment, you trash talk, and, no one wants to really hurt each other or end a career. But you want to gain a psychological edge. I don't get why it's such a taboo in esports. Can you shed some light on why it might be?
I don't know why it is. I think, I think it's a bit disingenuous. Your common argument is like, these are all these hopeless 12-year-old virgin nerds who've never played a real sport or fucked a girl, but not me. Ha 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 ha. With my big dick and successful love life. But I don't think it really is that. I think that's just people being a bit simplifying the issue and just trying to be, the bigger man, and they're too cool for esports.
Possibly. I don't know. You also mentioned toxicity in there, and I fucking loathe that word with a passion.
Of course.
I loathe it with a passion.
It's been run into the ground.
The worst thing, Riot have done a lot of things that probably is all forgivable, even though they were bad things to do, But the introduction of the word toxicity as some sort of interchangeable term for any form of negative behavior ever is the worst thing that has come into esports at all. Like, bar none. Bar fucking none. And I hate it because it's almost like you're part of a cult when you use this word. Now, cults very often...
I was definitely going to mention cultish behavior.
Well, it's true, as I'm sure the point you were going to make was, what cults do is they basically hammer home set terms and set phrases and, repeated language, because what that does is it shuts down critical thinking. And that's, you can't have a critical thinking follower, a disciple, right? So linguistically, you repeat set terms. Now, toxicity for me is, it had a very clear meaning at the start when Light first put it out there in his little talk and said, we call it toxicity because if someone treats you bad and you have a bad game and then you lose and you get upset, you then spread that attitude to another player, and then they spread it to more players and more players and more players, and it spreads out like something that's toxic. It was in no way an interchangeable term for bad manners, bad behavior. I saw people calling champions toxic if they didn't fit the current meta, if they were like too overpowered. Oh my God, the champion's so toxic. And the word just spread. And if you asked people to define what toxicity is,
it's diluted.
They couldn't do it. You ask 10 people, you get 10 different answers.
I mean, and yeah, I'm a total fence sitter in terms of the incarnation thing. Like, there's good points on both sides. But have you seen the top answer in his current AMA at the moment?
I haven't had the courage to look at his AMA because I think Incarnation is so brave to do one, actually.
Right, let me just give one of the answers. And honestly, it's like you can feel Riot's iron heel crushing his skull against the floor as he types this. So someone says, are you not allowed to stream, or do you just choose not to? He's got a bit of a preamble, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, the fact that I've been able to play solo queue is a really great gesture from Riot, and I don't want to abuse the chance they've given me to reform by monetizing it. Oh, can you not just feel like that's just puckering my anus just reading that shit? It's horrible.
Yeah, it is. Like, but I mean, again, he's over the fucking barrel, isn't he?
Whether or not I feel the guy deserves to be let back into, the game and competitive play, I mean, just give him some fucking dignity, Jesus.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, here's the thing as well. I think this links into your point. Do you know what I really fucking hate, like, most of all about what you're talking about? It's that, look, if you're bad-mannered and you cross a line, you are going to have to probably make a public apology. We're entering into a very more PR-friendly era in esports, where people have to be very careful about what they say, especially on social media. It's now starting to have very serious ramifications. But it's like we're not satisfied with just the apology. We want to fucking make you get on your knees and beg us for forgiveness. Just beg us. Just repeatedly apologize all the fucking time and beg us for forgiveness.
You've just got to be community whipping boy for the rest of your career.
Yeah, until we say it's okay for you to behave normally again. And I hate it. I hate the way that people
and that's heavily linked to what kind of circle jerks you're involved in and how many big tournaments you've won lately, rather than whether you've actually improved as a person. Despite the fact
course.
that we're moral high grounding, really it's just about whether we happen to like you and how much you're winning.
I mean, look, you've got people out there, and I won't mention names, but you've got people out there in esports who are considered to be nice guys, and they're perceived to be to be able to do no wrong, and they're the most cynical, exploitative motherfuckers out there. They just play their fans and their audience, and actually, they're doing it specifically to have that image.
I mean, the community as a whole doesn't really have the nuance to see the kind of let's go for it, the toxicity that isn't such obvious face value as someone saying something a bit racist or edgy.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
they don't see something more insidious. It just doesn't fly. Yeah. It just flies under their radar.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's like you've got to question somebody that doesn't fuck up. If you're in the permanent spotlight and you make no mistakes, no missteps, everything you say is just fucking, sweetness and light. And, you're
not showing that every side to yourself.
You have no opinion that anyone could disagree with. None at all. And yet, people think, oh, well, he must really be like that. They must really, have no opinion that could ever be considered even slightly controversial. They must really want to do all this like magnanimous, charity work or whatever. And it's definitely not PR.
I mean, it's the stupidest people who think they're seeing like the true face of like KCTron or your kind of like wacky face cam YouTubers that they just constantly sit in their room going, whoa!
I know, yeah. Oh, he's really scared.
Yeah.
He's really scared of amnesia this much. It's just I don't know.
He saw 49 other videos. His eyes did that $ thing on the Looney Tunes. Then he made his own video 6 months later. But somehow during that entire period, he still didn't have a clue that it was going to be scary. It's amazing. How did he do it?
I've never understood how people can't see. I look at some really obvious fakes. And frauds in the esports community because it's quite a young fledgling industry. I don't think people really have that level of nuance, that level of sophistication to say be as duplicitous as a politician. It's like I'm quite world wise. I got a very good bullshit detector. So in esports, when I see people bullshit, and it's very easy for me to spot, but evidently for the bulk of the fans, a lot less so. So what was the other letter in your? I feel like we've missed one.
Sportsmanship. So I was going to talk about. There's a topical example. I know you've had a bit of a falling out with your Dota. They've gone all dietide. You don't like them at all. But are you familiar with PPD? What's just happened at StarLadder?
Oh, right. So is this the having to play with a stand-in thing?
No, that was Dream League. Right, okay. This is what happened, right? I'm just going to blow your mind because it's too stupid, right?
Okay.
Have you ever heard that? You've been around esports in a while. I hadn't heard this term. Maybe you have. Have you heard the term aggressive GG?
No.
Right, I thought
sounds like an oxymoron, frankly.
Yeah, no, it sounds like someone, going up like fucking ad you bitch, well done, or something. Or maybe he puts his hand out and then he pulls it back and goes, woo, you suck. He won a game and he was getting lambasted by the fans for typing GG before the losing team typed GG. Now, this wasn't like halfway through the game or something. This was as the throne was blowing up. He just typed GG. And because the other team hadn't officially typed GG before him, he was doing an aggressive GG, which was disrespectful. And then he went and made an apology on Twitter for it.
Jesus. Who does he play for?
He plays for Evil Geniuses.
Well, that explains the early enforced apology.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's ridiculous. He just that's what he did. He typed GLHF and GG at a time that the fans considered inappropriate.
Man, I cannot figure EG out sometimes. So they gave zero fucks about all of those screenshots circulating of Mason.
Oh yeah, Mason can go around calling everyone niggers, but
Yeah, and not only that though, didn't he? Well, before he went to Dreamhack, didn't he make a post saying everyone in Sweden looked like monkeys or something?
I think I don't know about that one.
Something like that.
Yeah,
pretty sure. Yeah,
pretty much all of his posts are controversial in some way or another.
But I don't recall any enforced apology for him.
He did have an enforced apology for his racist stuff.
Did he?
It was not very. Yeah, he did. It was. I think it was less sincere than in PPD's one. I think it was like, they tried to water under the bridge.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, these two instances are apples and oranges.
Yeah, exactly.
One deserves an apology.
Yeah, exactly.
The other is I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my life. I mean, yeah. I saw something in League of Legends at the Battle of Atlantic where there was they didn't finish a game and they did a fountain dance.
Yeah, yes.
People were like, "Oh, this we can't."
And then,
have
of course, there was an item so toxic that anyone who buys it must be banned from competitive play with the Froggen Soul Stealer.
Yeah,
against Copenhagen.
Yeah. God, I remember that recently as well. I mean, look, I have got to say, this aggressive GG thing is that is easily one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Like literally one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. So, well, how have the community justified this? Because just recently there was a match fixing scandal, and the Dota community didn't really seem to give a fucking shit.
Yeah, well, they were Asian, so we don't care. We only watch NA and EU.
I mean,
Dota scene's ridiculous in terms of
what the fuck is going on?
Caring about what happens in the Western community.
I don't get it.
Unless your name's Ice.
Well, yeah, but so what's your take on the aggressive GG thing?
I mean, you summed it up perfectly. It's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life. It's just insane.
So devil's advocate, you don't consider it to be?
I can't even devil's advocate. Is that?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, me either. I tried.
Right. So and another thing is, I mean, the thing is, I think that one thing that community blows up all over the time again is you see after every cast, you see, like you've got your usual fishing for something to say after a particular stomp, and then there's like, and the players walk over and shake hands. Oh, that's sportsmanship. And it's like, well, not really. There's not really genuine feeling. That's just, part of the proceedings, isn't it? You're talking out your ass there. But, whatever. Sometimes commentators have got a lot of time to fill. You've got to respect that sometimes they say things that are a bit stupid because they've just, they've got producers talking in their ear about what's going on and they could just say anything. But I think any esports player should reserve the right. They've put so much time and effort into the game. You've got your boot camps where you're practicing 16 hours a day. You've devoted your life to something, and then you lose your final and you're pissed off. I think any esports player reserves the right to be salty as fuck after a loss, and I think that is their God-given right that you can't fuck with them. If they don't feel like walking over and shaking their hands and smiling and saying GG, that is their prerogative. Like, if they're still pissed off about it a month later, maybe you could say, come on, you're being an idiot here. But I have absolutely no problem with a player who's just lost an important game, especially if they feel they lost it in a nebulous way. Maybe they got cheesed. Maybe they feel their opponent, wasn't matching them up to them skill-wise and just took a big risk, rolled the dice and got away with it.
I mean, I got to say, just to sort of wrap up the call, I've never really liked the idea of when enforced sportsmanship.
No.
There was numerous occasions that I can think of back when I was, a sportsman in another lifetime where it was like some games just degenerated to levels where the idea of sportsmanship was farcical. I played in a rugby match that got called off. It became a brawl. Even spectators got involved on the pitch. It was Hartlepool and Gisborough. A real Hartlepool West, a real northern grudge match, and the game got called off. There was no fucking handshakes, I think we got banned from attending, their ground. Like, it was as simple as that. It was an ugly, horrible affair. Now, if you were to ask me many years later, because what kicked it off was a very brutal punch that really fucked someone's neck up quite badly. Now, if you were to say to me, if I was to meet those guys, even now, over a decade later, would I want to shake hands with them and have a beer and laugh about the good old times? No, I'd still think they were a cunt. It's not going to change. So I know there are some. We have to accept there are some players out there who just genuinely don't like each other. They just genuinely don't like each other, and
that's
they're
fine.
never gonna like each other.
And it spices up the scene.
Yeah,
well.
so why line them up and make them shake hands after a defeat?
Those grudge matches matter. Like, I mean, you need that kind of stuff because, you know, it puts a lot more hype into a match that's not best player versus second best player. You know, that's not a top match. You know, you can still get something behind it.
Yeah. So, look, man, it's great to hear from you again. It was a well thought out first call. I think we might make you one of our regular opening callers because it's always good to hear from someone that can articulate it without having to talk about esports journalists' penises. So yeah, you've done great work as always. I hope you'll call in again next week, maybe.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, brother.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.
Peace. So there you go. Lots of points in that call. Toxicity, I think we can all agree that word is the most overused and horrible thing in esports. If you disagree, you're just wrong. I think as well, you know, is sportsmanship if you enforce it? It doesn't really feel like it is. I certainly think there's definitely room to have, you know, genuine grudges in esports without people getting involved and saying, oh, it's bad manners and all of this nonsense. And I also think as well, which was the initial point with the cognitive dissonance of how people want an exciting scene and they want players with personalities, but as soon as they display the personalities in a way that they don't like, they want to flog them and, you know, publicly drag them through the streets until they change. And it is weird. And, you know, the esports community needs to mature and, you know, be a bit more expansive in the types of personalities it can get on board with. Anyway, if any of those points stirred something within you, add call.trashtalk on Skype, and we are standing by to take your call. So, who have we got next, Sam, and what do they want to talk about?
Next, we have James Harper, and he wants to talk about Korean players moving to China and why it's so attractive to them.
Okay, all right then, James Harper. I like it. It's a very normal-sounding name. A lot easier to pronounce than some of the ones we've had on the show. So we're just waiting for James to come through. James. Come on, James. I don't know. You might have missed the boat, brother.
I just messaged him. He said he'd be here. Hang on. Give him a second.
Fuck it, he's a liar.
Alright, hang on.
Hello.
There we go.
Oh, here he is. Right, hello. Is that you, James?
Yeah, that's me. Sorry. Do not disturb is too strong for me, apparently.
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. Glad I disturbed you. So you want to talk about Koreans and how moving to China is so attractive for them?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly something that's definitely a mainstay in what's happening in this off-season news. It's all the big news. All the big players from Korea are going over to China. With the article being released today on the changes to OGN, I don't really see too much changing in that either.
So let's tie it together then. So, I mean, my first thing is that I think if you offered these Korean players the same ridiculous amounts of money to go anywhere, they would probably take it because we're talking phenomenal amounts. It even eclipses the test-approved organizations in Korea.
I was going to say, yeah, I think China's definitely flaunting the strong fans of money and just going, come here, Dade, come here, and it's working. And I don't think, I mean, sure they can put these minimum salary things that they're adding on into OGN, but I think it might be too little, too late because China's still going to be able to powerhouse their way into getting the players that they want, essentially.
I mean, $250,000 over a year. Just as a base salary before we get into winnings and any other bonuses. I mean, that's pretty fucking insane.
That's unreal. What? So, like, within if you manage to get 4 years worth of playing, you end up on the same sort of money that, like, the people who won Dota 2 in the International 4 were getting. I mean, yeah, they won it as a lump sum, but that's unreal. You can become a millionaire, technically, on a base salary. Get esports right now. Isn't that Dade's? Is that Dade's salary?
Yeah, that's Dade's salary. I mean, I don't know. I don't know of anyone that's even had anything close to that who's moved to China, but I do know that the players that are moving to China, I mean, their salaries are way above what they were getting in Korea. And it's incredible, really, where all this money is coming from. That would be my first, I guess, concern. If I was a...
Sorry.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was thinking, like, have Riot actually put on a salary cap for any of the regions? Because it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary how China is so willing and able to get all the players. Like, say, because there's rumors that Dade was thinking about joining Cloud9 or something.
Well, definitely not rumors. I obviously have lots of interactions with my colleague William Turton at the Daily Dot, and I can tell you absolutely it's nailed on.
Oh, okay, so yeah,
100%.
okay. But yeah, I mean, an NA team could not afford to get Dade.
No. Well, it's probably the case. If I think a lot of NA teams look at value for money, and ultimately it doesn't represent value for money when, for the bulk of that, you're not going to be necessarily competing at Worlds. It's the first, this first split that's coming up now. Really, why would you need to spend big when you can win your region quite comfortably without Dade? So I think it's very good business sense
from the NA region. Yeah, understood.
But I think they do have the spending power if they wanted to. I mean, the main issue I've got, I think, and I've said this on other shows, is I don't know where all this Chinese money's coming from, and indeed whether it is real. I don't know if 1 year from now we're going to be seeing a stream of Korean players with tears in their eyes, tears fully stacked because they didn't get fucking paid.
It could get very awkward. I mean, no, they're all very shut in, isn't it? The Chinese.
Yeah, but I mean, look at what happened with fucking LMQ, dude. I mean, that story.
That's a horror show.
That story is some nightmarish shit, like gangsters in suits, like massive guys turning up and just standing next to you and not saying anything while you're waiting for the owner to turn up. Talks about dodgy visas and just an absolute, nightmare. And if Riot think they had problems stabilizing the Korean region and kind of getting behind the KeSPA veil, China is going to be like the fucking Wild West by comparison. I got no idea how you're going to tame that.
There's going to be a lot of dark spots in the findings. Should they actually be able to break through the wall? It's going to be, yeah.
So you link this to the changes in Korea, which were finally announced. So tell us what your thoughts about that is.
I'm really sad about no OGN Winter. I thought that was a lovely stopgap for my esports viewing. As a personal view, I loved the fact that OGN Winter was on it. It meant that the Korean region was on its own and it was able to shine with some of the play before the NA and EU LCS came out. I don't know. I think it's really sad as well that the organizations that we have at the moment are being limited to one team. I think that's was it Last Shadow, I think, said something about the fact that it's gonna kind of dry up the region really quite quickly, or it has the possibility to, because you don't have as many pro players playing.
I mean, I brought up the issue about competitive integrity, and I just didn't see how it could be viable, especially if you were moving to a league format, which is what Riot have done. But I also got to say, Riot did talk about in a recent Q&A they were talking about how they had no plans to kind of handicap the Korean region because that wouldn't be fair. But I just started wondering in the back of my mind if maybe one of the kind of bonuses, one of the benefits, if you like, of having this one team system is that inadvertently you do hamper the scene that's dominating it, and by doing so you probably create a bit more parity across other regions, especially with this freedom of movement we're starting to see for Korean players, bolstering teams in other areas.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I also don't like the tournament. I also don't like the league system as a whole. I thought the OGN system was a really good tournament system with the group stages into the best of fives. instantly with the blind pick. I think that all worked perfectly as a tournament system that you could repeat 3 times a year. I was actually hoping maybe we went the other way instead of these 4 to 6 matches every day on a weekly basis. I mean it.
Well, I mean, you sound a bit depressed about it, but
I'm very depressed. I'm
Yeah.
not too depressed, but I think it's just the changes of it. I'm not too keen on, but I do have to wait to see what's going to happen. I mean, it could provide the exposure more for NLB and stuff, which could be quite good.
I mean, do you think as well though that there's a danger that if China's buying power, if their spending power kind of goes unchecked, that they'll just become a dominant region just by sheer will, and sheer force of
Like
finance?
the Manchester City effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
you talked
there's
about
definitely
salary
that.
caps.
Yeah, salary caps I think would be the only way to completely balance out all the regions, because that way you don't have somebody buying up all these players. I mean, are there rumors of you would know better than I, obviously, but I've heard that Dandy and maybe Pawn are considering moving to China. Like they're talking. I think Dandy's a friend with someone in IG, but Invictus.
I've heard that there's talks. I don't think anything's solid yet.
Yeah,
But
I don't think there's talks. There's the world champion jungler, contested maybe for MVP, considering moving away from his own region that he's just won the world championships with. I mean, that's a horrific thought for me.
For me, James, I don't think you fix the problem necessarily by introducing a salary cap. What we actually need to look at is why is the mentality of get what you can while you can so prevalent in esports and in particular League of Legends? And it all comes down to the cold hard numbers that a professional player's career is like 4 years all at the outside. So a salary cap would be terrible within that context because it would limit already limited earnings. And equally by the same token, why wouldn't one of the better players in the world, if not one of the best, move to a weaker region if the money was there? Because ultimately, what does it matter? You're probably going to compete at Worlds anyway, and you're going to make a fuck ton more money by being in that region. And this is the thing, if you can't say to somebody, an esports professional, because then they're not professionals at the moment. What they are is, I think, esports competitors. Ultimately, they're on extended gap years. They're deferring university, they're deferring jobs, and they're playing in esports, and they're earning money while they're doing it. But eventually, because of the nature of the industry, they're going to go back and do something real. So you can't tell them short term, fuck it, man. You gotta think about winning things and stay together and build a team, because in 4 years that's
over. Yeah, they're out of their prime per se, and they can get replaced by someone who would even take it for pennies, maybe like a small 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid who can actually grab take anything he wants.
And that's the thing as well with the developer controlling all of the broadcasting that goes on, and tournaments having to apply for special permission to even have the top teams to be allowed to compete. How then, there's like 5 commentator jobs. You can't even transition into that. Maybe you get a coaching role, maybe if you're lucky at the end of your playing days, but imagine being a player who's absolutely amazing and can, and has contributed to the history of the game, but he isn't very charismatic on camera, and, he can't really express his ideas particularly well. He's got 3-4 years at the outside
to burn everything up.
Money. And, and again, without wanting to, pander to any stereotypes, when we start talking about impoverished regions, when we start talking about Chinese players and certainly some Korean players, some of these people, it's almost like a golden ticket for their families as well, short term.
Definitely.
I talked about Violet, the StarCraft 2 player, and it's a story that, I've always wanted to sit down and write about it. But he had his house. He had a really bad house fire. and his dad got really badly burnt, third-degree burns over a large percentage of his body, and wasn't able to work. And that was what spurred Violet on to become a StarCraft professional, because that was the only thing he could do.
In order to provide.
Yeah. And he knew if he got lucky, he knew if he got good enough, he could make money. And that's why I first came across Violet. I got introduced to him from a journalist I knew called Jeff Kim. I first met him when he was like 15, 16. And Jeff Kim was telling me, this guy's going to be amazing. And I was like, he's just one of your mates, isn't he? But slowly but surely it dawned on me this guy was going to be fucking amazing. So, these players sometimes aren't even just thinking about themselves. They're thinking about families and how to provide for people.
No, I certainly don't blame the players for doing what they're doing, because I mean, why would you turn away 250,000 a year? Why, for playing games? Why would you ever turn that away for doing the thing that you're loving to play? But you've
highlighted the problems. I want to ask you about potential solutions.
Okay, I mean, I have to say the minimum salary thing is a good start for the Korean system. I mean, that should have been a no-brainer to begin with, but I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction, as it should be for any team. Possible solutions. I mean, with streaming's a big income, especially for any EU players, and we're seeing that with the partnership with Azubu with certain KeSPA players, that they could definitely make some money that way. I would say. I think it's just giving them more freedom, in the sense that they are allowed to stream and are allowed to take money from the streaming.
I don't think they're necessarily going to enjoy more freedom in China, though.
No, because they can't stream in China.
Generally, don't say in hand.
You can't spell China with freedom.
No.
No, in China, I guess that's the major drawback, isn't it? You've got this big salary, but you've got no. I don't know what bonuses they're going to get from it, or if that's just going to be the flat rate no matter what they do. And it's quite. Yeah, I think that's the one issue with the China salary I have. Like, you don't know what there's going to be any extra income for them, whereas say with this new Korean system or the standard NA EU system, that they've always got outlets for like streaming, sort of, maybe even appearances and stuff. But I don't know how much Korea is willing to take that away from the main league that they're going to be, because they're quite focused on that.
Just to put it a little bit in context before we move on to the next caller, I've talked a lot about StarCraft players, and I've talked about it on previous shows, the KeSPA handcuffs. And the reason we're starting to see so many Korean players want to move to the West, even though they're going to earn less money for doing so, is exactly that. It's freedom. It's about being out from the regimented, very militaristic Korean style, and not just that. Culturally, the pressure that's on them to succeed. I mean, these guys are under tremendous pressure, and they practice 12 hours a day. They get a little window where they can talk to their friends. It's really awful. And okay, maybe it's well rewarded money wise, but nobody wants to live like that. And as the cultures are starting to overlap in a global age, more and more of these young Koreans are realizing, you know what? I'll take $30,000, $40,000 less a year to actually be able to enjoy what I do earn. And I think China is at the moment offering, an escape from that system, but hugely lucrative. I think we'll only really realize whether it's a good or a bad thing for those players, like I say, about 1 year from now. Will the money materialize? How many of these organizations will have been shut down for financial impropriety? How many of these organizations will have managers that disappear? How many of these organizations will take these players hostage and make them do elo boosting over and over and over again until they drop dead? How many times are things like this going to happen? We're only going to know in a year. So this great exodus to China, it looks good on the surface. I'm happy for the players. I hope they all make serious bank.
China.
But exactly, who knows where it's really going to go, dude?
Who knows if it even works for China as a region anyways? Like, for all we know, it could also blow up in their face. I mean, granted, Starhorn did well, but that could be the only exception to the rule. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it'll be interesting to see how much it plays out and how much it's actually worth for China. Or how much, if it's not working on the first year, what do they do then? Do they go even harder? Do they try and get Faker? Have they already tried to get Faker? I mean,
I'm pretty sure someone must have offered him something.
They've got to have tried at least, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what pans out.
Anyway, look, it was great that you called in, James. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we had some interesting discussion as a result of your call. Hopefully you'll call in again some other time.
I hope so too. Well, thank you very much.
No worries. You look after yourself, brother. Take care.
You too. Take care. Bye now.
All right then. So there was James Harper talking about the great Korean exodus to China and what it all means, whether it's a tragedy or actually something great. And I'm ambivalent about it. And I'm kind of on the fence, so to speak. But maybe you've got an opinion. If you do, you add call.trashtalk on your Skype, and we are standing by to take your call. Sam, just before we go on to the next caller, you've been sat there lurking like a sex offender in the bushes. What have you made of our callers today? Any points that have stood out for you?
On the regards of money, I don't think anyone should care what an esports person's earning. Like, what's it to you? If you can afford to buy him and he's one of the best in the world, he deserves the money. You don't say it about footballers who earn lots. You don't say, oh, they don't deserve it. If
well, actually, you're wrong, Sam. A lot of pub bores do say that. You must have heard that down the pub.
Yeah. But...
Oh, we paid their bloody wages, and quarter of a million a week for him. It's gone mad. No wonder the nurses are on strike, and you just hear them talk the same shit pouring out of their mouth. So it's only a matter of time before that happens in esports. But you're right on something, Sam. I'll tell you this. I do think it's weird, this obsession we have with esports earnings. We all want to know what people are getting paid, don't we?
Yeah, I don't think, why does it matter? I want people to get paid lots. I want Dade. If Dade or Faker becomes a millionaire, that's good by me. It shows that esports is progressing and we have enough money to pay these players.
But then, how do you feel about, I don't know, let's say there's a really good player getting paid $1 million and a player who's almost as good as a really good player and he's only getting paid $250,000.
Oh, is he really sad that he's only earning $250,000? I thought I'd be happy to take the $250,000.
Yeah, but why is he getting so ripped off compared to the other guy? They're not that different.
But, well, it depends how big the gap is, I guess, and it depends on maybe one person's a personality. Another thing when we're talking about trash talking and esports, in my ideal world, I want 5 to 5 facing each other, computers back to back, and screaming at each other when they get kills. That's the kind of trash talk I like to see. I don't want to see like, oh, he didn't shake my hand. He said GG as he was auto-attacking the Nexus. Oh.
Right, I gotta say, okay, so... Oh, no, I shouldn't tell this. Or should I?
Trash talk. No filter.
Yeah, fuck, dude. This is bad, though. So I won't name names, okay? But there was an AFPS game, okay? And I'm not even going to say which one it was. But a player... right, so two teams, well-known teams, top-tier teams, were getting ready at the start of a game. And it was just the warm-up and stuff. And one of the players on one of the teams had it 2 months before... His mother had passed away, and the other team knew about it. And one of the players on that team turned to his teammates and went, "Guys, watch this." And he typed, "Your mum's dead."
Oh,
just like that. Line. And like, your mum's dead, lol. Right? And I was like, this is possibly the worst thing I've ever fucking seen.
Jesus. Did they fight? Did the guy just come over?
No. It was just sort of like, they just accepted it as all part of the game.
Jesus.
And they played the match, and they shook hands afterwards.
What?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It remains... I mean, I don't know if that's almost like a testament to how more mature FPS games are because they shook hands afterwards, or how disgusting FPS games are compared to other games. Because it remains truly shocking, actually. The fact that I'm hesitant to tell the story, it's truly shocking to me. Still to this day. And It's hard to believe it happened. And, you know, I know all the parties involved. Ridiculous. But, the point I'm trying to make is is that the fucking, you know, all of this premature aggressive GGing, you know, I mean, guys, fucking really, like, look at the average FPS game, look at Call of Duty on console, you know, the flaming there is fucking next level, guys. There's definitely there's a happy medium, you know, between extremes like that and then calling someone out about, you know, saying GG before the other team. Like, what's that? Like, holy shit, that's crazy. So anyway, I'm glad that you feel the same way as me, Sam. I'm from an FPS background. I'm used to real fucking flame.
Yeah.
I'm used to real trash talk.
I'm from console FPS, so I'm fucking ready.
Yeah, exactly. Born ready. We're from Port Talbot as well.
Yeah.
We know about trash talk. We know about
blades.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll do one more call before we cut to a break. Make it a good one, Sam.
Alright, to follow up on the last question, Cameron Nelson wants to talk about KeSPA's new league trying to match the salaries of athletes in Korea.
Ooh, sounds a bit intense, this one. Okay. So, what was his name? Cameron?
Cameron, yeah.
Oh, that's a good name. I like Cameron.
He said he was raring to go.
Raring? Oh, God. This is another troll call, isn't it, guys? He's raring. Hello, Cameron.
Yeah, hi, Richard.
Hey, how you doing, Cameron? You are on the air on Trash Talk, and I understand you've got it sounds like a very serious topic. You want to talk about what was it? How this other league's trying to match KeSPA? Fill me in.
Well, first off, before I get to that, I just want to follow up on the guy who said he wasn't excited about the new OGN format. Personally, I am, because if it's going to mean more games if they're doing the league format, because you got to remember, they're following LCS, that's 28 games a split, whereas you look at, you know, that incredible run that SKT had in winter, that was 15 games throughout the entire tournament. So if I'm getting double the games, I personally don't mind losing the tournament format, you know?
I'm inclined to agree with you.
And then I guess to get to the call, the thing I want to talk about was when they're the new OGN format, how it's implementing the new minimum salary, and the thing that I thought was the thing I thought was interesting was something Monte Cristo pointed out on Twitter, how they're trying to match the salaries, I guess equivalently of actual, you know, physical athletes in Korea. And I know he pointed out that he said minimum salary for a baseball player in Korea is about $25,000 a year, which, if I understand, is I think a little less than what LCS players make right now, at least on the high end. I don't know my numbers exactly, but then he pointed out the average player in Korea got about $90,000 a year, and you know, I was wondering then if Riot would try to match that for LCS, because I mean, if I did the math, I mean, LCS players aren't even making half of $90,000 a year right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, $90,000, you know, that may not sound impressive, but I mean, I'm living on disability right now. I'm living on $700 a month. I'd kill for $90,000 a year.
I know plenty of people who would definitely kill for. Well, I actually know some people who kill for $700 a month as well. Actually, I'm from a very tough neighborhood, but no. Look, I think you're right. I mean, look, it's kind of a little bit like what we talked about earlier on earlier calls, and it's about where do we set this bar. I think one of the things that's really interesting about esports and the direction it's heading right now is that we're starting to learn about equivalence and value. You know, what players are worth money? How far are we willing to go? Do we want to pay for quality? Do we want to pay for, you know, social media returns? You know, what is it we're looking for and how much is it worth? And I think one of the most interesting things for me about esports is we can't be sure, actually. Some organizations pay top money for top talent and they never see the rewards. Others pay well over the odds for mediocre talent. And you know what? They get an amazing return just on the basis of their social media presence and their personality. And there's this glorious spectrum of, you know, we don't even know what the top end of esports is going to be. So certainly we've seen today with the Dade talk, you know, $250,000 a year to go and play in China. So
that's bigger than the paycheck he would have gotten for winning Worlds.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting that we're getting to this stage now where we're starting to actually talk about funny money and money that would eclipse some professional sports people.
Right. And, then I'm wondering, just like, if we keep going with the equivalents, is like, what exactly do you do? Does LCS try to match what Korea's doing? Or do we start comparing to our own athletes? I don't think we can compare to our own athletes in at least North America, because across the major sports leagues, minimum salary for that is $400,000 a year. And I think, at least for right now, that's completely unsustainable.
I think it's a very strange situation we've got, actually, because with LCS, the money that they provide is, they provide these block amounts at the start of each split, and that money is to go towards ensuring that there is a minimum of $12,500 paid per split per player. And then on top of that, that can be augmented as the organization sees fit. Now, I always think that, we need to kind of move away from that system, actually, where Riot are effectively contributing a salary, if you like, to players. I think it should be more set by the organization. I think it made sense as an inducement at the beginning, but I'm not too sure that, I like the people who make the game and control the league also being responsible for salaries. Kind of feels that, that's a bit much now. We need to kind of start thinking about how we can slowly break away. Certainly there's a lot of organizations that have done very well out of League of Legends and are doing very well moving forward. And I think there needs to be a plan in place, whether Riot come out and say, we're not going to do that anymore from 2016. Or whatever, but there needs to be a plan in place where I think we start actually getting towards organizations paying the entirety of the salary. And I think once that happens, the funny money will normalize, it'll stabilize, and there'll only be crazy, people in China and maybe Saudi Arabia that would be willing to go above and beyond a baseline.
Yeah, and the China thing is really interesting because I think almost, at least from Riot's standpoint, it'd be impossible to regulate that because LPL is run through Tencent Holdings, and that owns Riot. They'd effectively have to go over their heads to, over their own bosses. And I'm not sure if they actually can regulate the LPL in that sense then.
No, you're right. And it's interesting, actually, because I remember... just to give you an idea of some of the strange contradictions, rather, I should say, that emanate from the whole Tencent thing. I remember when I wrote a piece about the Curse Voice software and how Riot were, saying, oh, well, we don't want to use it because it gives jungle timers and it does all of these things that we're not comfortable with, and it offers voice chat. So, we're going to ban it. And as of now, I believe it's legal to use. But at the time, they were like, we're not going to allow it, and we may ban people for using it after a warning. Well, Tencent had actually produced a product that was very, very similar. That was used exclusively in China, obviously. And I don't recall anything said about that piece of software and whether or not it should be banned. And, it was considered one of the normal pieces of software you would use if you were serious about League of Legends in China. So I think there's definitely, as you say, an element where, as much as Riot might want to be, out of the shadow of Tencent and be their own separate entity, it does kind of feel that Tencent do influence the proceedings to a greater degree than Riot do, certainly in China.
Right. And that, I think if they try to do this minimum salary thing, if they're making Korea comparable to the LCS, we might stop seeing a lot of Koreans come over, to North America and now to EU with Ryu and Horo. But I don't think if they can do that, they're still not going to be able to stop the mass immigration to China. Especially look at the crazy numbers, like Dade moving for $250,000 a year to either King Team or Snake Q. These are teams that just qualified through the LSPL. I mean, these are nobody teams. Like, I think it's Snake Q. Nobody on that roster even has a Leaguepedia page. These are nobodies. And they're paying Dade $250,000 a year.
And that's why you pay him. That's why you pay him. Like, fucking carry my ass. Elo boost my ass. That's what they're doing. They're paying $250,000 to fucking elevate average or above average team to hopefully true greatness. Just by the virtue of having one-star player, it's not abnormal. You do see these things come up in esports quite often, where you'll just see one really incredible player playing with a bunch of shitters, or shitters by comparison, and you think, what's going on there? And then it's the money. It's the money. Right.
Yeah, which again, I'm kind of hoping they can get this thing fixed, because personally, I would like to see more parity across the regions, and hopefully salary matching might do something to that. Because if you're making the same money in Korea versus the same money in North America, the KeSPA handcuffs are still there. But if it's for the same money, I mean, it's you're still playing better games in Korea. So I'm not sure exactly how many people are going to be willing to leave now if they're going to be making the same by not moving.
Do you think that? Then Riot need to get into China while all of this is kicking off, and what would you propose Riot need to do to ensure that things aren't being nefarious, or the money isn't going to go to crazy levels? I mean, what would you suggest the fix is?
I think we may just have to ignore China, because again, if that's being run out of Tencent, if Tencent's not willing to talk, I mean, there's not much Riot can do. And I guess the best thing you can do is focus, make sure you got the best parity across the other regions, and just hope, I guess, you can foster a competitive enough environment to where competing in Korea or North America would be as good by competing in China, because if you're playing for better teams, got a better chance to win tournament money. I mean, let's face it, China, they did make the finals, but if you watch a lot of LPL, I mean, the good Chinese teams look good, but if you watch average Chinese teams, they play League like, I'd almost say gold level solo queue down here.
So, I mean, you're really suggesting that Riot should ignore China? If they're not willing to fall in line?
I almost think they have to, just because I think if Tencent's not willing to talk, there's nothing they can do.
But I mean, that's.
I think they should.
That's a pretty big fucking, call.
I think they should talk to Tencent. I think they should try to engage, but I mean, ultimately, if they can't do anything, they can't do anything. So it'd be up to Tencent to see if they're willing to talk. And I don't know. Chinese financials are sketchy. I'm not sure if they'd be willing to change that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if there was some sort of rule brought in where you had to lay all your accounts open for Riot people to sort of go through. I wonder how many of these organizations would be in existence in a league capacity. It'd be interesting.
Right. And I guess really the best thing you can do is just make sure you can foster enough competitive integrity in the other regions to where it be as appealing as playing to China, even though it's less money. I guess that's really the best thing you can do.
Well, look, we're gonna cut to a break. Thanks a lot for calling in. You did say you were on disability at the moment. I hope you get well soon, whatever it might be, whatever your ailment is. I'm pretty awesome, but unfortunately, I can't cure the sick. But I will mentally lay my hands on you, and hopefully that works out for you, brother. But thanks a lot for calling in. Wish you all the best, yeah.
Thanks, Richard, and looking forward to First Blood tomorrow.
Hey, no worries. I look forward to seeing you in the chat, man. Take care, yeah?
Right. No problem, man. See you later,
Peace.
Richard.
So there we go. I might get thrown off Twitch, Sam. I'm proclaiming that I am Jesus. Have I gone too far?
As long as you keep your shirt on, you should be good.
You can't keep your shirt on and be Jesus. Christ, man, I got a reputation to maintain. So, what did you think of that, Sam?
I don't know. It's difficult because the other part of the company is you basically just sold your soul to Tencent. So anything you want to pass across your entire game, you just kind of have a gate there that can either just say no, fuck off, and then completely fucks up the entire system. You can't have a worldwide system when someone else owns a part of you.
Well, I agree with you, Sam. I agree. I don't know. I thought it was a fucking bold claim to say maybe Riot should just ignore China.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like Western foreign policy for the last 25 years, what he's proposing there. What human rights violations? So, anyway, I think we'll cut to a break. We've got some good callers for after the break, haven't we, Sam?
Yep, we got Alexander who wants to talk about Starcraft. We have Otez
What?
who wants to, yeah, Alexander. And then we have Etem Otez who wants to talk about SK replacements and Cyanide.
Okay, well, I'm still seeing some big talking points that haven't been brought up. So just before we go to the break, I want you guys to think about the following. We haven't had one call about Robert Ohlen, the great one, our fallen king. No one cares enough to call him and talk about him. For fucking shame. Also, as well, Incarnation did an AMA today, and we've talked very little bit about it at the start of the show, but we still haven't talked about Incarnation's ban. Is it going to be overturned? Should it be overturned? Anyway, if there's that on your mind or anything else, add call.trash talk. We're going to take a 5-minute break, then we're going to do another hour of calls. Well, hopefully they'll be as entertaining as the first half, if not more so. So we're going to cut to a break. Don't go anywhere. back. We said we'll be right back. We kind of told a little bit of a porcupine. But we are back, and we got about an hour left to go. Gotta say, it's been a good show so far, but the diversity of topics hasn't quite been there. There's so much going on this week, and we really want to spread it out and try and get as much out there as possible. We've talked a lot about career and money, and we've talked about China and money, and we've talked about trash talk and not quite so much money. But Sam, who've we got now, and what do they want to talk about?
Next we have Sean Cosley, and he wants to talk about WCS casting crew, and also what it means for Starcraft 2 in Dreamhack after Robert Ohlen left.
Yes, okay. So let's get him on. Get him on the call. Hi, Sean, can you hear me? Hello, Sean. Hello, Sean.
Hello? Hold
Oh,
on a
here he
sec. Let me focus my settings.
No, that's all right, brother. It can be difficult.
Hey, I can hear you now.
That's great. Glad to hear it, Sean.
Sorry about that.
Hey, no need to apologize, man. So welcome to Trash Talk. You want to talk about the WCS casting crew and Robert Ohlen leaving DreamHack, so it's a double whammy. Let's start with the WCS casting crew. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so the WCS casting crew, or at least the StarCraft 2 scene, has lots of great casters. I heard you kind of talking about how LCS only really has 5 or 6 open spots, which I can see just based off the official league and not allowing third parties to participate.
Yep.
So the problem with SC2 right now is that, or at least the problem right now is that there's so many good people and so few good spots for BlizzCon. So my problem with it is they released the actual list right here, and I'll just put it in chat for Twitch. If that's okay.
Yeah,
but
of course.
but anyway, they released it, and one person in particular who was not on it, who I think I and a lot of other people think should be on it, is Jeff in Control Robinson. And I was just wondering, because there's some names on here who, yes, they're good, but do they really deserve the prestige of being at BlizzCon, especially after their performance this year? Like, in particular, I know they're part of the StarCraft team from the beginning, but like Artosis and Tasteless, like, they're great at what they do, but BlizzCon is kind of a, like, you put all this work, you try your best, and I just don't know if they've put the work into the scene this year that merits a BlizzCon appearance. Because, like, you see Artosis doing Hearthstone, and you see, I don't even know what Tasteless is up to when he's not doing, like, the occasional GSL cast. He's, like, streaming on Izubu or whatever the hell it's called. So I do you think that In Control is more deserving of a spot than, say, any of the people on that list? And if not, why?
It's a very tough question for me to answer, but first of all, I'll just be very open with you, Sean, because you seem like a nice guy, and that is that I actually knew about this for quite some time. It was basically, I think everybody got told whether they'd made the cut round about DreamHack Stockholm. And you know, I'm a journalist. Obviously, people talk to me. That's why I'm able to do my job. And you know, I've got a lot of love for the StarCraft fraternity, and that's reciprocated. So I was aware that Jeff wasn't on that list, and I was probably as shocked as you are right now. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk to Jeff actually at that event, and I really wanted to. But
he seemed kind of surprised based on his Twitter that, like, when it was released, he seemed very surprised based on some tweets he released, or at least very salty.
Yeah, I think I don't blame him for being a little bit salty. I don't think he was surprised, because I'm pretty sure he knew at the same time everyone else did, so it won't have come as a surprise to him. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he missed it. It would be incredible to me if that happened. But maybe it did. Maybe he really didn't know. But I certainly would believe that he did well in advance of any tweets that he may have made. And I understand him being salty, actually. Now, I think he is a very unique prospect in terms of StarCraft. I think he's incredibly funny. He's off the cuff. He's very intelligent in the way he presents his humor, and he's very unique in his delivery. And I've got a lot of time for Jeff and what he brings to any broadcast. Frankly, everyone, it's a matter of record. I've said it a million times. I've said that Jeff would be better in a lot of ways, severing all ties from EG and just going out alone, maybe even learning, not even learning other games, because this is a guy, I don't think it's necessarily like the reason I love him so much when I watch a StarCraft broadcast isn't because he's incredibly knowledgeable about the game, which he is, but it's that humor, it's that interaction that he can have, and he says things that are near the knuckle, and I just think he's incredible, incredibly unique in the StarCraft space. It's like having a too good, basically, that's actually understands StarCraft. So for him not to be there, it is shocking to me. But the way that it was kind of phrased was that I'm getting the USB noise. The way that it was kind of framed to me was basically that. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, Sean. I was just getting some echo. I thought you might have got cut off. But basically, how it was how it was framed to me was basically that they wanted to do a safer show.
Yeah, they didn't want Jeff to say something that might be a little controversial.
Yeah, that was
I don't know. Like it seems like Jeff he's been doing it for years, that he knows when to rein himself in usually.
Like but I think that dude, like, I mean, the idea that Jeff is gonna go wild on air and say something that's like ridiculous, that's not Jeff. This is somebody who's been at one of the biggest organizations in the world, in a constant media spotlight, and has never been found wanting, has always come up with the right thing to say.
Get cancer. He hasn't
exactly.
himself with a tire iron.
Yeah, he's always known how to walk that tightrope. So I'm saddened to not see him there, frankly. I don't know if that'll perhaps put me in the doghouse with some with the Blizzard people that made the decision. I certainly hope not. I think we're all adults and we can all have our own opinions about things. But Jeff deserves to be there for me. I think Jeff's been such a huge part of promoting StarCraft, even that it's almost, it's a massive oversight not to have him there, in my opinion. But you also asked me, do I think, does he deserve to be there over the other people on the list? And I think that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there anyone you see there who you think doesn't deserve to be there?
Well, you were saying earlier, like just now, you were saying Jeff is a very good representative of StarCraft, and I feel that the argument that Artosis or Tasteless are just so integral to the scene and faces of StarCraft that you can't not have them, I would argue that Jeff is just as integral, and that
hello?
People who can talk about hello.
Sorry, hi. Yeah, you cut out a little bit. You went, Jeff was just as integral.
Hearthstone, everything else evolving with that. You have Moonglade, who he's not even a full-time caster, really. He's a professional Zerg player from Australia who went to Pro League to cast a little bit. And yes, he did it. Does he really deserve a spot over someone like Jeff, even though he's has this a little facet of being a Zerg player? I don't know. I can understand how there might be budget issues or just too many people, but I still think you find a way to get them in there. Like, even if it's just go down the state. Like, I'm sure a lot of people would do it for cheaper. Like, 2 hours.
Sorry, I'm
Like,
just laughing. I'm laughing at the stream because my face is frozen at the moment, and it just changed. I just moved for the first time. It's been a great call. Just to pick up on the point that you said, just there about budget values. I'll tell you, it's definitely not a budget thing because Blizzard spare no expense for BlizzCon, and it's definitely not about that. I'm incredibly perplexed as to what the reasons might be. But I definitely isn't money. And also, just to pick up on the point where you brought up about Moonglade, obviously I've had the great pleasure to work with Andrew at Dreamhack Moscow, and I've also known him for a long time. And he's not there sort of as a cheap make weight or as a gimmick. Anyone who's heard his casting in Korea and heard the job that he did in his analysis and casting at DreamHack Moscow knows this is somebody who's ready to be a top tier talent in that space. Kalaris definitely deserves his shot. I thought
definitely.
he was. Yeah, I was going to say he got absolutely shit on last time, and it's great to see him there. I think Todd, he's got to be there. And one thing I'll say Blizzard do right that other companies maybe don't. We talked about Tasteless and Artosis right at the start, and maybe there's an argument that that they've kind of had their time a little bit, or they don't put the hours in anymore, or they're not quite as relevant as they once were, or whatever. But these are the people that laid the foundations for Starcraft to be the greatest esport. For 2 years. For that period, it was at the top and it was untouchable. And it was a gateway esport. It made people get curious about esports. League of Legends wouldn't have had the success that it's had if Starcraft hadn't have been successful. And it's your Day Nines, your Tasteless, your Artosis. And I would even
Can
say
I go
as well.
full trash talk on this? Like, I've been pretty nice. Okay, listen. This is fucking charity at this point with Tasteless and Artosis. If you're gonna fucking go,
Your trash talk literally just cut out.
fuck.
Yeah, you've got this. You keep sort of fading in and out. So say your trash talk really, really fast, and we'll get it. Or will we?
You got him good.
Listen. And hyping people. Day 9.
I think what we need to do at this point, like, I heard one word. I heard listen and Day 9. I don't know what to do at this point, Sean. Your connection's not very strong, unfortunately.
Is this pretty bad?
Yeah, but it's bad in a hilarious way.
Okay, listen. I'll keep it short.
Okay.
Jeff deserves it. Fuck Tasteless and Artosis' casual shit with casting StarCraft. Did you get that?
Yeah, I did. You've done it. You've done it
Fuck
brilliantly.
that bullshit. Stick with casual Hearthstone. Go to Passionstone. Okay, Robert Ohlen.
Yeah, Robert Ohlen. Let's try and fit something in about Robert.
Okay, I think I fixed it. Okay.
Oh, brilliant. Well, do you want to go back then if you fixed it? Because I want to hear the point that you were going to make about it being charity.
Okay, it's fucking charity. StarCraft, like League, like Dota 2, you don't see those guys casting several games and being at the top of their game. I don't see whatever the hell, I don't see any League casters casting StarCraft, and I don't see that vice versa. If you're going to cast a game as hardcore as StarCraft or as hardcore as League or hardcore as Dota 2, you have to stick to one fucking thing. You have to stick to that if you want to be the best. Sure, Artosis can probably get by. Tasteless can probably get by just on pure skill and being experienced alone. But if you want the truly best cast, have someone who's dedicated and who's good at it. Jeff and Control Robinson's good at it. He's dedicated. He's just as good. I would say he's better than Tasteless. Fucking Artosis with Passion Stones trying to make money to feed his little kid. That's fine. Just don't cast at BlizzCon where the best of the best are. Fuck Passion Stone. Just stick to fucking StarCraft if you're going to want to go to BlizzCon. Okay.
But as I was saying, though, I mean, Blizzard are very good at rewarding people that have done things in the past. I mean, are you saying there's no room for sentimentality, Sean?
In a time when viewer numbers are a concern, you want to put the best show out there. And if sentimentality is so huge that it's going to drive those numbers, then sure, but I don't think it does. I think when the league stigma for tasteless and artosis is only gonna, it doesn't add to a positive way in viewership or in terms of the experience. It's not like if Idris streamed StarCraft 2 again and everyone just wants to see him, BM some fucker for an hour.
Yeah.
It's not that, and I feel that Jeff got gypped. It's fucked up, and he works really hard for the scene. And you know what?
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you, Sean. I think here's the thing, though. Maybe it's going to become a new BlizzCon tradition where one guy who works really hard for the scene is going to get gypped. Maybe that's the new tradition.
Because Kalaris got gypped, and that was fucked up.
Yeah. So maybe. But I mean, here's the thing. Could this be perhaps the last year, the send-off year? Maybe they will put some of these people out to pasture.
I could see that for Tasteless or Artosis. I mean, they don't even cast half the GSL, it seems, nowadays. What do they, in like the random Taiwanese event, what do they really do? Like, I don't know. I mean, Tasteless rarely streams. Apparently, he's still trying to get his new computer or something, or looking for Sons of StarCraft documentary gifts for all the Kickstarter people. Maybe that's just what they're so busy doing.
Hey, yeah, have a little bit of faith. Maybe they're trying to make things right, and that's what's taking up all the time.
Oh, well, I'll just hope for that, but I'm really not gonna fucking bet on that at all. I mean, if you want to, that's nice, but I'm not gonna do that.
I don't gamble. It's against my faith.
Are you an optimist? Oh, what? You're Mormon or some shit?
I'm near Utah. I don't even know. I'm trying to think of a faith that doesn't allow me to gamble. Amish, is that? Can I? Yeah. Okay. I'll be a Mormon then. That's fine. They're allowed many wives, aren't they?
You're fucking drinking though. Get that shit out of the
way. No, this is non-alcoholic.
Right. Just like fucking Bad News Bears, where he fucking pours the whiskey in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So let's hear your glowing tribute to Robert Ohlen.
Okay, Robert Ohlen. I'm so confused about that guy. Whether I love to hate and hate to love him at the same time. The guy seems like the funniest dude. Great promoter for DreamHack. Spits anti-American bullshit, which makes me want to fucking just like kick his ass on Twitter. And at the same time, he's sometimes the funniest, most cynical dude who just likes to randomly quote niche or whatever. I can't fucking pronounce that right now. So
Nietzsche, but it's okay. It's not.
I'm sorry.
No one cares about him anyway.
Yeah, fuck that. So, anyway, Robert, he's been the face of DreamHack for as long as I can remember. I remember DreamHack being one of the first events I ever watched, and that dude seemed to be the guy all behind it. He seems like he's a very big proponent of StarCraft 2, and I'm just worried in a sense that does this internal, coup indicate a drift away from StarCraft 2? And
I gotta be honest, I don't think it's actually like I just completed an interview with Robert today, and I've literally been pretty much on the phone with him since it happened, including the day he found out. I think we stayed up on Skype together until like the early hours, and
I'm assuming not sober.
Oh fuck, man, we were wasted. But I mean, he especially was because. I think people saw his tweets. It was like it wasn't even his usual standard of English.
Soprano shit.
Yeah, and then mumbling about the
surprise. Is this now? Are Koreans going to be able to open the champagne now without Robert? That's the big question. How will they open champagne?
I mean, certainly Robert will have. It sounds like he drank most of the champagne supplies the other night. But I don't think it's going to impact on any of the games. DreamHack, they're really community focused, and the company. No, I wouldn't say Robert's particularly the guy who picks the games or anything like that. He will be the face of the games, and he understands the games and how they're positioned in the esports space. But there was a team below Robert that understood all of those things as well. And I don't think StarCraft's going to go anywhere. StarCraft will fade out at the point where it's no longer viable for big tournaments anymore. And it won't happen a moment before that. And I think DreamHack will probably be one of the last men standing, actually, when it comes to support.
They still have Quake, don't they? They still have Quake for a while.
Exactly. I mean, they'll they're just they just want to put bums on seats, put great entertainment out there, well produced broadcasts. And I don't think Starcraft is going to go anywhere, not in the near future for them. And I don't think Robert's necessarily a fucking kind of the lone champion of Starcraft at DreamHack.
Do you think this indicates a change, though, in the way DreamHack's going to run things, or is it just a personality issue where they personally just want to get rid of Robert and continue the way things are?
I think Robert was one of the kind of influential figures in terms of what we consider the DreamHack feel. So the DreamHack feel for me was that it was like, we're going to do it our way, and it's going to be faintly ridiculous, and we don't
music videos and shit.
Yeah, and we don't give a fuck, actually. We don't give a fuck. We don't care that it's ridiculous because it's DreamHack, and that was how they used to operate. Robert always used to say we're serious about not being serious. I've known him many years, and I've heard him say it to the point where I'm sick to death of hearing that soundbite. But that was kind of the DreamHack mantra, the DreamHack credo, and they fucking genuinely believed it. Now, that was all from Robert. I think if you take Robert out of that equation, I don't know if DreamHack's going to have that same rough around the edges. Yeah, okay, we got 2-hour delays because someone kicked a cable out backstage. Fuck it, let's have both teams do a dance-off. I don't know if those days are going to still be there. And I think that would be really sad if that was the case.
I still think, I feel that DreamHack's feel is good, but they could still use a little more professionalism because honestly, a big problem with the viewership is there are those 2-hour breaks. What sporting event do you know has a fucking 2-hour break in between? They always have shit in between. It's professional. It's quick.
Good point to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but that's once a year. It's not an entire weekend. It's a 4-hour event.
It's also the biggest sporting event on the planet apart from the World Cup final.
It's that matters.
They blew a power fuse. Backstage, wasn't it? It was some fire.
The power went out. Yeah, that happened. But
so
that's something unexpected. They plan these 2-hour breaks, and it's just like, okay, you can get up on the professionalism, but I don't know how big of a change there's going to be when Robert, since he is gone, and other than just the rough around the edges feel, do you think there are any games that are going to be added? Maybe to the scene, is there anything he didn't want to do that everyone else wanted to do? Or
I think Robert was up for anything, I gotta say, I don't think he was necessarily a barrier to progress in that way. But I think DreamHack will bring in other games. I think that's inevitable. Other games are going to drop off. I can't really speculate what they would be because at the moment, we don't know what the next kind of wave of esports games are going to be. I certainly hope it doesn't go down the route of being a bit more CPL/MLG kind of focused, where people can pay to have a tournament there. That would kind of suck if they went down that route. I certainly hope they don't.
No, it just feels like one big land just from someone who's watching it. It feels like a fun time, but do you think that is this basically the equivalent of a Swedish mob hit? Is taking over an esports organization, is this as hardcore as they get over there? Removing the leader.
This was look, okay, so you'll be able to read about it on the Daily Dot tomorrow.
That blog.
Well, dude, I got to, man. I gotta eat. I gotta eat, right? I finished off the interview with Robert today, and he's just flown to London. I'll be seeing him in a couple of days and be able to make him feel safe in my big, strong arms after everything that's happened. But I know, because I love him dearly.
You're a big teddy bear.
Everyone knows that. But he got fucked over by his dad.
Really?
Yeah. So get this, right? The long story short, the TLDR is back with his original partner when he bought the company in 2006. His original partner decided that he was going to try and fuck him over and fuck him out of the equity that he owned. They were joint 50-50 owners, but Robert was the face and the other guy was the backroom business type chap. He felt that this entitled him to more than the original 50-50 agreement. He tried to basically get Robert out of the company. So Robert, to be tactical from a legal perspective, talked to his dad. And he said to his dad, he said, if I transfer my 50% equity to you, this guy then won't be able to touch it. And his dad went, yeah, no problem. I'll take your 50% equity and look after it for you because you're my son. And, this is how families operate. And Robert went, that's brilliant. So it gets to like 2009, 2010. The legal problems are over. The challenge has been thwarted. And the other guy fades out of the picture. And then Robert goes to his dad and goes, can I get my 50% shares back? And his dad goes, yeah. We'll just leave it a little bit though. Yeah. I mean, timing's really bad. So he leaves it and the timing's bad. And then he says, can I get my shares back now, Dad? And his dad goes, nah, if we transfer the shares now, there's a chance that it might, tilt the company. We might go belly up. And Robert's thinking, hang on, none of this makes any fucking sense. And basically, his dad decided he wanted to keep the shares for himself and fucking run the company himself. And it's
his dad's a cunt.
And his dad has increased the controlling influence that he had in Dreamhack to 70%. And then basically people internally all had a meeting. Robert was going to stand down as CEO anyway, because he was getting old. He's 47 now. He didn't have the same sort of drive. Plus, all of the fighting with his dad to get the shares back had really made him lose his passion. So he no
legal background, like no legal avenue to get the.
No legal recourse whatsoever. And then they said, okay, well, what we'll do, Robert, is instead of you being CEO, we'll move you to chairman of the board. And then when Robert thought that was going to happen, he found out basically 2 weeks ago at the outside in a meeting that he wasn't going to be made chairman of the board and he was going to get told, get fucked, you're actually just out the company. So that was kind of what happened. According to Robert, I must say. That's
Damn, man, family sucks it sometimes. So Robert got fucked over by his dad. That's the TLDR, big time.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Is there? Do you think there'll be a backlash?
I don't think there will. I mean, right now, Robert doesn't even know if he wants to continue in esports, and frankly, I don't blame him. But he's flying. Let's say he's flying to London. He'll have arrived by now, actually, and he's going to meet with his wife. I mean, because his wife is at the London School of Economics, studying. I imagine economics, and she's over there, and so are his kids. So he didn't even have any family around him when this happened. He's just been cooped up in his flat in Sweden. None of the people he thought were friends who worked for Dreamhack, he can't talk to them. He can't even attend the 20th anniversary of Dreamhack. He's not going to be there. So it's I haven't heard the Dreamhack version, and obviously I've worked for Dreamhack. I've got a lot of respect for a lot of people at Dreamhack, good guys like Hellspawn, fucking Greycon. These are incredible people in the esports scene, but Robert's a friend as well. It's like, it's hugely conflicting for me, dude. But I don't think there'll be any backlash. I think I'd love to see Robert get a job with another company, but who would he work for? And that's the reality. It's not like he could go, well, maybe he could go to an MLG. They've already put one crazy CEO into the background in the form of Sundance. Maybe they need another one. Maybe ESL. But, the ESL and Dreamhack are very different prospects. So,
okay. Dream scenario. Boss DH either goes to ESL or creates his own organization, takes over Dreamhack, shits on his dad, story ends. Is that the dream scenario?
It's maybe the dream scenario. I mean, like, I think for Robert, the dream, I mean, like, he's having to sell his second home as well to make ends meet and stuff, because he went from, I mean, I know that sounds like a first world problem, but he went from having 50% equity in a very profitable company to getting paid, to not even having a salary and getting paid 6 months severance. That's it. So I mean, he's got to make ends meet and stuff. So I think literally, I mean, like, I hope it doesn't happen this way, but I think what'll probably happen is, okay, so me and him had a drunken conversation at Dreamhack Stockholm, I think it was. And or it might have been Dreamhack Summer. I forget. They all blur into one. But anyway, we got fucked up, and he was saying, you know, like, I need to appoint a successor. I'm getting old. I think I'm gonna run a restaurant. And we spent the night coming up with an idea for an esports themed restaurant where you had like some sort of Twitch chat thing from other tables saying what they thought of the food and giving each other recommendations. And I was coming up with all these like crazy fucked up ideas because that's what I do. And you know, he was going to do that at 50, so you know, 3 years from now. But
Yeah.
if I was him, you know, he's a smart guy. He's a great, you know, great personality. I'd look at it like, you know, God doesn't close the door without opening a window, and I'd just go and fucking do that now, frankly.
I feel like he's one of the few people who could legitimately get a job almost anywhere in almost any esport just because of the skill set he's probably attained over the years.
Mm.
And I don't see him leaving it, at least. Well, I mean, maybe right now he wants to because he's very emotional probably about it, but I see like a lot of players who've had a lot worse situations, like, you know, Violet, for instance. And I could definitely see him getting back into this, and I hope he does because he's honestly a good force, a good person to have in the scene, and we'll really miss him in the Starcraft scene if he really decides to leave. I know personally.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's what I will say. We'll have a much clearer idea, I think, once he's had a good talk with his wife.
On the Daily Dot.
Yeah, and obviously when I publish my article on the Daily Dot. But no, realistically, he needs to talk to his family, and I think everyone will respect that. You know, he's got plenty of time, you know, before he needs to make a decision. I hope there's a big esports company out there that want to hire probably the craziest and most charismatic CEO that esports has ever seen. Now, if Sundance watches this, he'll get pissed off at me. So I will say,
Sundance can get fucked.
yeah, see, I love my Sundance. I gotta say, but you know, I a lot of guys don't get to meet the real Sundance. So he is a cool dude. I know it's hard to believe sometimes, but he's an amazing guy. So there you go, Sean.
Thank you. Mind if I give a shout out?
Hey, shout out all you want, man.
Okay, guys, follow Richard at Twitter. Read his Daily Dot article. Yo, go to his Twitch like you are right now, and watch his YouTube videos. He needs more beer. He needs beer money, guys. Anyway, thank you very much, man.
Hey,
Sorry
no
about
worries.
the mic problems.
Hey, don't worry about the mic problems. It added to the show, and you know, you had some great opinions there, and it's good to take a StarCraft call. So enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope to hear from you in future.
Yeah, good one, man.
Much love, brother. Take care. So there you go, Sam. What the most hilarious call I would say we've had on Trash Talk. The high point was when he went, "Listen," and then just silent. And in the meantime, the screen was froze with my fucking manic grin. That was a fuckable.
Yeah, no, that's a picture that I have saved. Your camera, last time you crashed, I took a screenshot just in case you crashed again, and I took it at the perfect time, just as you were taking a sip from your mug. So that's just my constant Richard Creeper face that I have as backup now.
Richard Creeper face, Jesus. God save us. So that call kind of went on for a little bit. We got about half an hour left. Let's have a look. Come on, Sam. Line up the callers for me. I'm gonna start picking them out now.
Right, we have someone who couldn't get on last week and he wants to get on this week.
We got to do him then.
Yeah, possible SK replacements and Cyanide.
Is that what he wants to talk about?
Yeah.
I'm hoping Cyanide the player, not he wants to play Cyanide while we're on air. I get that feeling every week. So is it Etemo?
Etem, I think. Etem Ostas.
Hello.
Hello, Etem.
Yes.
Is that okay to call you Etem? Is that good?
Yeah, sure, it's fine.
Okay. It's obviously not, but he's being polite. I like it. So, Etem, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on board. So, you've got a couple of topics that you want to talk about. I'll let you pick them. Which one do you want to do first?
Yeah, sure. I would like to start talking about Candy Panda and his performance this year on the new SK Gaming. Basically, he did decent in the spring split. He was, but he became better. He played better. With every week it went on, and he was, kind of a good pick by the end of spring split, and he was kind of still good in the beginning of summer, but he fell off. Okay. He got into a slump. He had no motivation, as it seems, and he never was that much of a flashy player except when he picked Vayne.
Mm.
So he was a decent AD carry, but nothing flashy like Tabs or Wild Turtle.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's gone, SK got a lot of options to pick from. Like, oh my god, I'm sorry.
Well,
Sorry
what
if
was
you heard,
that?
if you heard that. That was
That
my
sounded like-
phone.
Oh, that's all right. I thought it was a robotic dog that had come to kill you. I got a bit worried. That's the kind of thing that happens in gaming.
Yeah, well, it's my HTC 01. Like,
Very
it was
nice.
on my table on my
I
wood
don't
table.
even know. I don't even know if that's good or not. I used to be a mobile phone salesman, but I just haven't kept up with it. I got a piece of shit. I'm old now, so it doesn't matter to me. But anyway, so who would you you said they've got a lot of options, but who would you replace him with?
So, the most likely option appears to be Forgiven. There are a lot of rumors and indications by Forgiven that he's leaving Greece for obvious reasons, etc. And I think he could be a good replacement, but there is one guy that I would like more on SK Gaming. Many people might think that I'm talking about Reckless, but I'm actually not. I am talking about Tabs. I'm not really convinced of Reckless play, but I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Tabs, in my opinion, is a useful AD carry. Like, he uses the laning phase to get fed, and then tries to carry the team. While Reckless, he's using the laning phase, he gets fed, and then he keeps farming and farming and farming and farming and farming. He's farming most of the game, and then he groups 1 or 2 times with a team. And when his team fell behind because they had to 4 versus 5 all the time, then Reckless is useless. At least that's my opinion of his play.
It's an interesting opinion.
Yeah.
I've heard other people say it. I do disagree. I think he's a phenomenal talent, and I think a lot of the time we probably haven't seen the best from him because there are actually some weaknesses in Alliance that probably have hampered him truly. There's probably been some weaknesses in Fnatic that have truly hampered him, from shining. And I think if he goes to Alliance, maybe some of those weaknesses won't be there. Although maybe that's not true because I've never been really sold on Tabs. And, he left Alliance and said, this team's got weaknesses. It's not a fun team to be in. So very interesting. Perhaps Reckless might realize that the grass isn't always greener. In terms for replacements with SK, though, Forgiven's pretty much a done deal at this point. I mean, I would have thought so anyway. So I don't know what you think of Forgiven.
Forgiven was a really great AD carry, and I really liked his play in the spring split for the Copenhagen Wolves. It's a shame they didn't want to cut him off his contract. What I heard, what he said on his Ask channel, he was going to Gambit through the middle of the summer split. So Genja would have been replaced, and I would have really liked that because Genja, I mean, it's a common opinion that he's not a great AD carry.
No.
So yeah.
He's unique,
Well,
but he's certainly not great. I think it's the best way to describe him, right? That's fair.
well, he might be unique, but I don't think that's really great.
No, it
So,
isn't. It isn't. But
yeah.
Forgiven, he kind of got hampered a bit by, but I understand why Copenhagen Wolves did what they did actually, because he did say a lot of nasty things.
Well, not just that. I think they wanted to keep their opponents. I mean, Gambit Gaming didn't do well at all. They were fighting with the Copenhagen Wolves for the 7th place, I believe, and with Forgiven going over to them, it would basically guarantee Gambit the 7th spot, while the Copenhagen Wolves would end up last, probably.
Yeah.
So it then makes sense, unless Gambit would have offered them like a couple of thousand.
Crazy money.
That wouldn't have happened. Yeah, should have been crazy. Maybe 15,000. I mean, it's a bottom of the table
number.
team
For golden number. But look, so what do you think of Forgiven though? I mean, like, let's say Forgiven goes to SK. Is he an improvement on Candy Panda or not?
I would think he's an improvement. yeah, Candy Panda was just decent, you know? He was there. Like, you noticed him, he wasn't all that shiny. While Forgiven, he hard carries some games. Like, not just some games, but many games. At least from what we saw in the spring split, he stomped many bot lanes together with Unlimited, who is not so great a support player. And he made Unlimited a better support.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning of the spring split, Unlimited was really bad, while at the end of the spring split he was way better, and Forgiven taught him the ways of supporting, because an AD carry knows what he needs from a support. So yeah, and Rated, he's a good mind. Like he knows how to think a lot, theory crafting about the game and so on. His strategy is really great, but in game he's not the best support. So oh my god. All right. Him being a good mastermind and Forgiven's ability to teach him the ways of supporting in game and solo queue just makes him a perfect fit for SK Gaming.
I'm inclined to agree with you. You know, like I say, I certainly hope it's a done deal. I think he'll fit in, and I really want to see him, you know, back in the LCS. I think he'll be a little bit wiser now that he's had some time, you know, away from teams and kind of learning a little bit, you know, from perhaps some of his past mistakes. So what was the other topic that you wanted to talk about, Etem?
Well, we just talked about the replacements on SK as the AD carry role. Now I would like to talk just shortly about the mid lane role. I mean, they have two options, as far as I know. If Incarnation is unbanned, then he's the way to go. And if not, then they will probably pick up What the Fox from their sister team, from Challenger. And Incarnation would make SK Gaming the best Western team at the moment.
Dude, I agree with you. This guy is fucking incredible. I don't think we've seen a talent like him in the West. I'm not even kidding. You know, I know we've had some great mid laners, and solo queue is very different to a team environment. But this guy understands the game in a way that is freakish. He is an anomaly. He's been consistently able to get the #1 account in Europe time and time again. He can do it with using one champ. He can do it using multiple champs. His fizz is absolutely disgusting. I remember when I first heard of Incarnation, and I was like really not inclined that he should be banned. And actually, you know, I believed a lot of the propaganda that was put out there about him erroneously, and kind of the official Riot version of some of the stuff about him, if you like. And I watched him play Fizz, and he did a Fizz marathon, and it was stupid. It's just like nothing I've ever seen. And since then, he's only got better and more versatile. Now, my understanding is that Riot are having a big meeting in December, I think, with the player behavior team or whatever it's called. And, you know, we've already seen, I think Miffy talked about it and Nukeduk talked about it, that they're going to find out in December if their bans are not going to be dropped and not carried on to the next season, which again seems really weird because Riot did expressly say it was a 6-month ban. Not it was a 6-month ban, then we review it and decide if you're banned for longer. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Now, I imagine that at that meeting where those bans are going to get discussed, those competitive bans, I imagine Incarnation is going to be very high on the agenda of possible unbans. And I just hope that Riot are going to do the right thing here because, you know, whatever the truth about the DDoSing, there is no proof. He has denied it. He admitted to it, and then qualified him admitting it as being a way to just make players annoyed at him and fear him and troll them. And unless you've got hardcore evidence, I don't think you can really hold it against him. And what's interesting is I found when I was researching an article I wrote about this ban, I actually found an instance of a DDoSer getting a warning. Riot said this person DDoSed in a competitive match, and we've given him a warning and told him not to do it again.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that's really weird.
I haven't got it to hand, but I'm pretty sure you could find it if you Googled it. It was very, very early on. But anyway, the point being that, you know, what's good for the goose has to be good for the gander, and if you haven't got proof, you can't necessarily penalize Incarnation to the same degree as you would, you know, somebody that you had proof for. And it's also got to be said as well, there's this huge myth about him being this incredibly toxic person. I think anyone who read his AMA today shows that whether it's fake or whether it's genuine, he knows how to interact with people in a public setting. He also is currently playing solo queue. That's no secret. Again, he's the #1 challenger account in Europe, and he hasn't had any reports to trigger a ban. So he is the ultimate pin-up boy for reform, which Riot are meant to be so fixated upon, and yet they're going to not only ban and potentially have banned from the game the most talented Western mid laner that we've probably ever seen, we're also going to keep him banned when he's clearly reformed and has turned over a new leaf. And I think both of those things are incredibly sad. Sad for the game, sad because it shows that Riot truly don't believe what they constantly talk about, and sad for Incarnation, who actually is a pretty swell guy when you get to know him. So I hope you're right. I'd love to see him at SK, but I think SK are going to have to make a decision before Incarnation's going to know one way or the other whether he's unbanned.
Yeah, I also think they're gonna go with What the Fox for the moment. But if Incarnation should be unbanned, then they're gonna go with him. I'm sure they're gonna have that cleared up with What the Fox, similar to Fnatic Pushu and Reckless back last season. That when Reckless is 17, that he's replaced. So I think Riot is going to discuss that. Using Incarnation as their pin-up boy, as you said, that he reformed. He was one of the most toxic guys. Now he's so super nice, similar to Ocelot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If Riot play their cards right, they could use this guy as basically, you know, if they said to him, look, we're going to unban you, but for the rest of your playing career, you're going to be our bitch. We're going to make you say things that are so cringeworthy and embarrassing. You know, you'll hate yourself for it, but at least you'll be able to play competitively. So, you know, they could have him doing videos saying like, you know, I can't believe the things that I did. And yeah, whatever, right? Whatever it takes. This guy has already proven, you know, he's stuck around in a competitive scene that he can't even compete in, and he can't even stream himself competing. You know, he stuck around all his time. This guy's serious about getting back into the competitive scene, and he fucking deserves a second chance.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And as I said, I would love to see him on SK Gaming. Like, I'm really impressed by SK Gaming this whole season, except for the summer split. But at Worlds with Svenskeren, they showed that they can beat the TSM, who is one of the best teams in NA with Cloud9, and that's just impressive to me. Like they're the 3rd seed in EU, just very close to winning against Alliance, who eventually won the LCS, and then just clean sweeping Rocket in the place for 3rd seed for the world spot. And yeah, just with Incarnation, they would stomp everyone, in my opinion.
You know, and just to wrap up the call here, I got to say as well, what I love about SK Gaming is how serious they actually take the sport. Sports psychologists, coaches, you know, they're not just looking to have great players, they're looking to have great infrastructure. And you're absolutely right. If they just tweak 1 or 2 elements, I think they could be a really fantastic team. Anyway, we're going to try and get through another couple of calls before we kill the show, so I'm going to have to cut you off there. But it's great that you called in, Atem. I hope you call in again sometime. Thanks a lot for giving us your time and giving us your opinions.
Yeah, sure. Hopefully I'll be on again.
Same. You look after yourself, brother. Okay, so there we go. Sam, no time for small talk. Let's try and get 2 more calls in, but I'm going to pick them again. Who have we got?
Right, we have Alexander, who wants to talk about Starcraft.
Was Etem the guy that we promised?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So we now there can be no broken promises. So we've got Alexander. You did mention him
Future
before.
Starcraft, its growth as an esport, and why Blizzard is limiting its success.
It's been done to death, kind of. So sorry, Alexander, but maybe you've got
Super Sniper wants to talk about job security in esports and possible unexpected C9 roster changes.
Could be interesting.
There's another guy who has a tip of a possible LMQ roster, and when I drag him in, I'll tell you the name he wants to be called. And he says his source is. I think you know who he is, so maybe if I drag him in, you'd recognize him.
Okay, well let's put that on hold as well, because I'm always dubious about it turning into like I've got a hot tip, Richard. Anything you can do, I can do better. All right, baby. You want to break all the news? Well, I'm going to break the news. I'm going to break the news on your show. I'm going to devalue what you do for a living on your own show. So no, fuck that guy.
There was a guy who called in
might be cool.
last week, and it was a bit of a deep talk, so I don't know if I want to go into it now, about how esports started in a globalized society and how it might or might not eventually take the same
remembered him
structure.
last week, and it sounded heavy then. Oh, actually, just before we do anything, I just want to say as well, Cuddle times 2G just subbed. So thanks a lot for subscribing. I generally, I generally say don't subscribe, but thanks for subscribing, and it's great that you did. Ebola's kind of fizzling out, so I need to get a new charity. But thanks, seriously, it does mean a lot that you would give money to me, and I'll probably have to pay Sam if you keep doing it. So what are the other guys?
Max wants to talk about constant roster changes, and he thinks he has a good insight on the moves, and talk about the 2 Koreans that failed them.
Right, fuck it, let's do Super Sniper.
Super Sniper, okay, if he's still awake.
You better be. I think I haven't. Isn't my face an emote? Actually, people are saying, what emotes do we have for subs?
I don't think that one worked for some reason. We'll have to resubmit it.
Oh, that's bullshit.
I think they have like a robot that detects whether or not it's copyright, and it didn't realize that was you, so it kind of just flagged it.
How can it not realize that it's me?
I don't know.
Oh, Super Sniper hung up on us.
Super Sniper's gone.
Well, oh, that's a shame. So, okay. well, God, give me some more. Give me some more. Give me something that's gonna really leap out at me.
Trying to find someone good. How Korea's new rules affect Korea itself, and what we can learn from Brood.
We've done Korea to death.
LCS expansion tournament and how Riot fucked up the format.
Interesting, and it's anti-Riot, and obviously I am too, so everyone says. So let's get this guy on. What's his name?
His name is Simon Wagner.
Yeah, bet it isn't. Prepare for the trolling. Hey Simon, can you hear me?
Yeah.
First question: are you a troll?
Nope.
Hey, good. Then we're good to talk. Welcome to Trash Talk. You want to talk about how Riot fucked up the NA expansion tournament format?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Alright, good talk.
Simon? Hello?
He's gone.
You promised me you weren't a troll.
Right.
Maybe he just got nervous.
Alright, let's try him out. Let's bring on Jonathan McDaniel.
Bye, Simon. Thanks for calling.
I know you want to talk about the expansion tournament as well, so here we go. Lines
Alright,
up
okay.
perfectly.
Hello?
Hey, dude. I don't know if you heard the last call.
The master troll, dude. Holy shit.
Seriously, I don't know what was lamer, the Thorin stick thing or that, but
Just straight up bailing. Oh boy.
yeah, I know. He couldn't take the heat. He got the fuck out the kitchen. So you've got something to say about the expansion tournament, and I'm very interested. So hit me with it.
I have basically all sorts of awful things to say about Riot and the way that they format tournaments and basically everything, and it drives me absolutely nuts. And I was actually talking about it with a bunch of people in chat.
Mm-hmm. Go.
So last season, they for some reason thought it would be a perfectly valid idea to have online qualifiers in best of one format.
Yes.
Where they announced the days that they were happening and who was playing who and the full rosters of all the teams.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a friend who knew how to DDoS, you could basically just take out the other team, and unless they had perfect DDoS prevention, there was no way that they could get away from
Nice
it
meme.
because the way the rules were set up was Riot basically went to all the challenger teams and was like, "Here's how you protect yourself against DDoS, and if you get DDoS, tough shit. You didn't follow the rules properly. That must be what it is."
I tell you what, dude. I remember this at the time. I spoke to loads of teams. They were all saying, Richard, like you got to highlight this story, and it was just like it was like that scene. Have you seen Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? Have you seen that? It's the
I'm
one
like
where
12. Come on.
yeah. Come on, man. You must have seen it. Well, anyway, there's a scene where he's like trying to free them all from the mines, and they're all just going, and they're like all just trying to get their like chains unhooked, and he's doing them all one by one indiscriminately. That was like what it was for all the DDoS complaints last season.
Oh
Like,
my
I'm not
God.
even, they were just like, help me, someone write about this. And I was like, I can't, dude. Like, everyone's getting fucking DDoSed. It sucks. And Riot were basically saying that their anti-DDoS protection guide, which we had an IT expert look at, and he said, that's outdated. That ain't going to fucking help you with shit.
I mean, even
But
Destiny put like a huge cohesive DDoS prevention like walkthrough on his website, and apparently his was like 20 steps more and like way more protection than any of the stuff that Riot was sending out. So the
yeah,
whole thing was just a complete farce.
yeah, it was. It was a fucking joke. And it's like you say, the fact that they did all these like pre-announcements. I mean, like DDoSing just shouldn't even be a fucking thing.
Yeah.
For something of the idea that you get one shot, and if you get DDoS during the game, go fuck yourself. You should have protected yourself.
Yeah.
That's just shouldn't be acceptable. But you're absolutely right. They basically enabled the DDoSers to kind of, pick and choose, who they wanted to win and who was
Yeah.
going to do it and stuff. So yeah, that
I
was
mean, we
ridiculous.
saw countless Reddit threads pop up like every single week that there was a challenger event happening where it was the best of one brackets or the best of one like stages. You'd get a team being like, "Hey, we were put up against this team and we just got DDoS during the game, so we just got wrecked." Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing we could do about it.
Yeah. So
It's fucking ridiculous.
So I mean, what do you think they've improved this time around?
I mean, Riot doesn't do a whole lot of improving right away when it comes to format. They kind of tend to just sit with the same old, and like tweak one tiny little thing. Like this season, it was the changing the quarterfinals of playoffs to being best of 5 instead of best of 3s, which it's something, I guess. But as far as I can tell, this year it's relatively similar, where it's going to be all these online tournaments. I sincerely doubt they're going to do best of 3 because it'll take way longer for them, and I don't think Riot's willing to put in that amount of time or forethought into this. They're kind of they just need to get the people seeded into that expansion tournament and figure out who's going to take the other slots in LCS. And with all the crazy imports going on, it's going to be a mess to say the least.
But I will tell you this though, I'm looking forward to the expansion tournaments, especially in NA, more than I was Worlds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Worlds, you kind of went in with this expectation of, okay, which Korean team's gonna pull their shit together and just crush everyone? Because that's like, let's be realistic. With the way the format worked, it was gonna be every Korean gets out of their group because the groups are just way too small for them not to. All the wildcard teams are gonna just get slammed like every game except for that one cheesy game where Kaboom took a game off Alliance for some reason.
Yeah.
And then the NA and EU China mixture just kind of like goes by group, like which group is able to get that second person out, and it was a complete just everything that was supposed to happen happened.
Yeah.
The Chinese teams were overhyped again. They fell flat. They got out, like everything that required like excessive pre-game planning against the Chinese team, like they just got crushed. Like they didn't plan, they didn't do a lot of very important things, especially against the more macro game style teams. And it just ended. Whereas with the expansion tournament, we don't really have any expectation of anything. Like the most expectation we're going to get is next week when all the roster locks come in for all of those tournaments, and we'll get to know who's playing for who and who's going to be there.
Yeah. So I mean, the teams that are coming in are pretty wild. I mean, LOL Pro haven't officially announced, but we know that it's going to be was it Flaresy, Think Card, Yasui, Wiz Fujin, and Keith McBrief. That's going to be their team. I don't know what you think about their prospects, but I mean, Coast have stepped up their chances in a real big
Oh
way.
yeah, they're pulling big names everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, their squad was massive. It was like the
Yeah.
size of an NFL team. You know, they
I
they
mean,
had.
at this point, they technically don't they still technically have Santorin on their team?
Oh, I mean, they've released him. I think.
Technically?
Yeah,
Oh, did they?
he's
Okay.
he's at TSM.
Yeah, well, we all
Uh,
know he's on TSM, but
yeah,
technically,
yeah. No, but I think that's going to be announced real soon. You know,
yeah,
Santorin's been spotted at the TSM house, so
we've been
you
hearing
know.
mumblings, and he's been
Mm,
duoing with people, which is the number one way that Reddit people figure out who's on the new teams. You just look at who's duoing with who, apparently.
yeah, I mean that's pretty. Yeah, that's how I do it. Yeah. So there's that. I mean, Curse Academy. I'm really liking
Yeah,
the look of
that's gonna
them.
be interesting.
You know, I
'Cause,
think they're fucking awesome. You know, Cop and
yeah,
Bunny Fufu. It's
they
they've been
showed
reunited.
up. They
Yeah.
showed up at the almost kicking out CLG. They
Mm,
showed up for those games.
yeah.
And now that they've picked up a more consistent AD carry, I think their chances are definitely way better, especially
Mm,
since Bunny Fufu is just an absolute monster.
yeah. I mean, Bunny Fufu on Thresh, dude. Like he
Oh my
is.
God.
You've got to ban Thresh. I think when you're playing against him.
Yeah,
But
it's
what I got to talk about one of the guys who really fucking stood out for me. I mean, Keen, dude. Like,
oh my
I'm
God, that guy.
like
If
serious.
that cheese with the mid Hecarim had like actually worked out for them,
Yeah.
people would have been basically calling Keen the best player in all of NA.
I mean, serious though.
Guaranteed.
It really put him on my radar. I mean, you know, maybe I'm not the most informed when it comes to League of Legends, especially outside of LCS. But he really fucking impressed me, dude. And from what I've
Yeah.
been told, he is shitting on everyone in scrims. You know, like straight up, like just shitting
Yeah,
on
I don't doubt
everybody.
that at all, dude. The guy is, from what I've seen, the guy is amazing, especially
Mm.
for the challenger scene where you can never really count on any players just because the infrastructure is not quite there. Like, not all of them are in team houses. Some of them are kind of just like ragtag teams of LCS dropouts or ragtag teams of challenger players who were like, "Hey guys, let's try and get into LCS and see what happens."
Mm. And
So
then you've
it's,
got obviously Team Fusion, which is my
oh
boy.
yeah, that's
Tend
gonna be
to do
great,
that. Glee,
dude.
Mac Noon. It's a crazy team actually.
It's actually a really off the wall team, and if it goes well, it's gonna be unreal to have in the LCS. But I
Mm,
have a bad, like very like gnawing suspicion that something might just go to shit. I don't want it to go to shit. I want that team to work.
yeah,
But whenever you import foreign players, you never really know what you're gonna get, especially people who have been around for as long as MacNoon, who are, not to be mean to the guy, but he's super troll.
yeah. I
Every
said as
interview.
well. I said as well. Like it's real awkward for me because obviously if they get in at LCS and do really well, I'm probably never going to see Josh on First Blood again. And we've like started building something wonderful together, and that was like with the proviso that I'm pretty sure he'd kind of not given up, but kind of just thought, yeah, there's nothing wrong with Challenger. That's cool. And he was going to do the show and do Challenger. And now he's ended up in this team where he's got a legitimate chance at
The dream
LCS.
team.
Yeah, exactly right. So I'm like,
It's like the NA, some like weird NA hybrid super team that's just like basically powered entirely by dreams.
yeah. So I'm like saying to him like, oh yeah, I hope you really do well, Josh, knock it out the park. But secretly I'm like, get fucked, motherfucker. Like, hope you implode, and I hope everyone says you're the worst jungler to have ever fucking lived. Like, because
Well, I
you know.
mean, if you can jinx him enough, maybe you can replace him with MacNoon on the show.
I'm not sure how that would fucking work out. So you've got some amazing teams now. Here's another thing that's going to be fucking interesting: complexity, because the whole situation as things stand with the kind of split into the two teams. I don't know where the fuck the chips are going to fall on that one.
Yeah, that shows. Oh my God. There's so many teams that are just in complete shambles. Like, there's Dignitas that just imploded. Like that team is just, oh my God. I have no idea who they're gonna get, if
Mm.
it's gonna work, if the people they're keeping are gonna actually stick around for the long haul, if they're gonna improve. Like the whole team's a complete shit show at this point.
But here's what I would say: that if Coast, having spent as big as they have, if they don't get into LCS,
Oh God, it's gonna be Nip all over again, man. And I'm not looking forward to
yeah,
that.
exactly the North American. They don't. The fans after what happened with the
the double Korean import out of nowhere. That was shifty. I did not like that at all.
I don't think anyone did, dude. I honestly think they made themselves possibly the most unpopular organization in League of Legends.
One fell swoop. They were they went from being like the hype, maybe they can get into LCS, maybe they can be the top of challenger for a few splits, to just being universally hated. At least the organization hated. The team, people on the team, I bet you they didn't get like any input. Like there's no way. There's no way 3 out of 5 people were like, yeah, fuck our team. Let's just get Koreans. Like there's no way.
So my question to you is then, because look, I've kind of set you up a little bit for this question, so hopefully you'll forgive me. But the question I got to ask is, all right, maybe the format does suck, but actually maybe Riot are doing something right, because for the first time we're talking about a fucking tournament of exclusively challenger teams, and look how hyped we are about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a couple reasons for that.
So dismissive, you were like, yeah, fuck off, Richard. Okay. Come in a backyard and this is how you act.
There's a few reasons that this could be hype. There's the hype because it's an expansion, right? It's the first time we've gone from 8 teams to more teams. So it's basically going to be all the like anxiety and hype of the promotion tournament, like the promotion relegation tournament, except everyone's fighting to get in. We're not losing anyone, so it's extremely hyped up, because it's not like going to be like the CLG Curse Academy game where if Curse Academy wins, it's going to be the ultimate comeback story. But if CLG loses, then we lose CLG. Whereas for this, it's always going to be like there's not really a loss. It's just a moderate loss compared to a big gain. And on top of all the big changes internationally, like the Korean scene's basically just been chopped in half. Like no one's going to take a 10-team roster and like rotate all 10 players through week by week. Like that's just not going to happen. The 5 players would be better suited going to another region and actually playing, especially a region like NA where just by joining an LCS team, you basically get instant 10K viewers for at least a month.
I kind of agree, but still, one of the things that I always used to rip on Riot about was how they weren't doing anything to sort of foster an amateur scene that was worth a damn, and to have teams outside of the LCS that were worth sticking together. And they introduced the Challenger League, and it didn't get any of the good coverage, and arguably it didn't even get the good casters. And it was a bit of a afterthought. The games were tagged on at the end of a usual broadcast and stuff. Yeah. But slowly but surely it has captured the imagination, and organizations that want to break into LCS are realizing now that actually you're going to have to spend big in Challenger now. You're gonna have to take the gamble. If you want LCS, it ain't gonna fucking come easy. And I really like that. I like the way that, against my better judgment with what Riot were doing, they've somehow created this.
Despite all of their missteps, they've managed to make this work.
Yeah,
like, it's blown my mind that they went from best of 1 like ranked ladder qualifiers to actually having a challenger scene that people care about and has at least some infrastructure. That is blowing my mind, because at the beginning they still do it now. They take the top 25 ranked 5s team or something like that, and then they just say, okay, you guys get a berth to possibly get into LCS. Like what? Yeah. No, it's the same thing with North American solo queue. Like no one takes it seriously. I got to Diamond 5 just doing fucking God knows what, and I just inexplicably got there. Like no one cares. People troll, people get mad, people leave. Like it's a complete cesspool of just like awfulness. I don't want to start bringing up the T word, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And to take people from that, it's nuts.
So, I mean, what are your thoughts just overall? Do you think maybe you're a little bit harsh? Like maybe Riot did learn lessons. Maybe
I'm sure they learned something.
Maybe no one's gonna get DDoS this time.
I wouldn't say that. You're just gonna jinx it, man.
No, but like, what happens if the tournament goes without a DDoS?
I think that's going to be great for the scene. Like, as much as I'd love for Riot to succeed, I'd just love to not have anything to complain about. That'd be great. I mean, I wouldn't have a lot of article ideas, but it'd be great. I wouldn't have anyone to bash or complain about, and it would just sunshine and lollipops. We're good to go. But Unfortunately, Riot doesn't exactly have the greatest track record when it comes to consistency and great decision making, especially when it comes to changing the way that they run their tournaments and also the way that they deal with their players.
Well, look, man, it was great to hear from you. I'm going to wrap it up there. We're going to kill the show. But you killed the last call, so hopefully you'll call in again sometime. Maybe even what we should do is I might do a like a daily trash talk for each day of the expansion tournament.
That'd be sweet.
So everyone can just call in and, you know, talk shit
And just
about
bitch
games
about who
that
lost.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. So if that happens, I'll get you involved. I promise.
Yeah,
But
sure
thanks a lot
thing.
for calling in, and you know, have a great evening. And no doubt I'll speak to you again in the future.
Yeah, thanks again, and shout out to Sam for basically caving into my demands.
he's a pushover, trust me. But anyway, you look after yourself, man. Catch you later.
Yeah, take care.
Peace. So there we go. That is the last call of the evening. We talked about, well, you know, how the NA expansion tournament's going to be fucking sick. I'm actually pumped to watch it, like way more than Worlds. I'm not even kidding. But just before we talk about anything else, we got another sub, and apparently it's the thing you do when you're a streamer. It's Sir Steam. Who has subbed. Thank you very much. Turns out that me making him a mod was the best thing I ever did. Can't wait to spend your $4.99 or the $2.50 that I get of it on lube. Something equally disgusting. So thank you. You've given me a nice frictionless experience. Sam. So there you go. You must be pumped for the expansion tournaments.
No, not really. It's just like there
What's
are a
wrong
few
with you?
teams. I want to see Infusion, but other than that, it doesn't really seem to be that good of a story. Not
What are
that
you
interested.
talking? What are you talking about? You got Jesus, right? Like the man who no one would touch after his performance at Worlds going out there. You know, that's gonna be sick. Impaler, you know, he gets ousted from Super Hot Crew like shit. Selfie won't play with him. Goes to Coast. Apparently tells his girlfriend the day before he's leaving.
Well, I am excited to see Impaler because I just like him, but as
Yeah.
far as the teams, I don't know. It's not that interesting to me. I don't think Jesus is gonna suddenly be a fucking god when he goes to an expansion tournament. I think he'll play the same. Maybe he'll play different champions, which would be nice.
I reckon he's bringing back the Ziggs. I reckon Ziggs,
Oh.
Ziggs is back.
The
mother-
pocket pick.
Yeah.
Who
Like,
expected
you know,
that?
And I want to see how Macnoon's going to cope. And you know what? I also want to see Curse Academy maybe fulfill their fucking destiny. I mean, like, I didn't mention it on the call there because it's not really confirmed one way or the other. But, you know, maybe Keen's having some visa problems and might not get a play. That would
Yeah,
be,
that's what I hear.
yeah, be a huge blow for Curse Academy. We don't even know what the fuck is going on with Complexity. But it could be the return of Chaos. Sam.
Oh, I hear KX is on another team. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, so I won't. I'm not Richard Lewis. I'm not gonna leak it.
No, you know, dude, say whatever the fuck you want. You're my producer.
Well, I heard that he was gonna be on the new LMQ roster.
What?
Yeah, but I'm just a producer. I don't know anything. I have not heard a single word.
Don't tell me who told you that, but I mean, like, was he drunk or
No,
did he have a drug problem?
it's just on the shady side of esports, in the
Wow,
back streets.
Fucking hell, Sam. If that comes true,
I'm the next Richard Lewis.
well, I wouldn't put that on anyone, but you might get another 50 Twitter followers off the back of it. Just imagine. I only just realised I wasn't even following you, dude.
Wow.
How bad
Look
is
at
that?
this.
But I'm following you now.
All right, good.
I literally hit follow today. So you've done some great work on this show. I think you helped prop it up from some of our more maniacal callers. So excellent work to you. And to everybody out there, that was Trash Talk, the esports phone in. I apologise to all the people we didn't get round to. My suggestion to you is have more interesting topics. No, I'm kidding. Well, if you didn't get on this week, mention it to Sam next week and we'll prioritise you unless, again, you know, what you're talking about is absolute bollocks. Keep call.trashtalk on Skype. I want to say to everybody who watched the stream, numbers weren't great, you know, but fuck it. People watch the VODs, and you guys who come and watch it live, I know you're the guys who give a shit. We never have to put this chat in sub mode. Everyone's fucking intelligent. Everyone knows what they're talking about. Everyone wants to be here. So fuck it. I wouldn't trade in my beloved 750 viewers for 750,000. You guys are great. And thanks for the subs. Like I say, now that we've got the Ebola crisis licked, I'll take your money. No, I won't. We'll probably switch charities to Amnesty International. I'm just going to go and check if Ebola really is defeated. If it is, great. But until then, it's going to be First Blood tomorrow, and that's at 10 o'clock GMT, 11 o'clock CET, and I know you motherfuckers out in America have still got daylight savings or some shit, so it might get confusing. But basically, the same time as this show was tomorrow.
6 p.m. EST, 3 p.m. PST.
Look at this guy.
11 p.m. CEST.
Look at this guy. A jackass as well. So you got the Chaos leaks, and you know your fucking universal times.
Yep, I'm down pat. I'm esports relevant, baby.
What a fucking
I'm ready
ballet.
for the money.
Yeah, you can have the last sub. Anyway, look, guys, it's been a blast. Actually, I really enjoyed doing this show. Thanks to all the people pimping out my Twitter and shit. You are the real MVPs. And until next week, that was Trash Talk. See you then.